Anti-derivative Jill.
There she is. There she is.
Welcome to Jill's.
Greetings and felicitations.
Kill the wabbit, kill the wabbit, kill the wabbit.
Kill the wabbit?
So, hello and welcome. I am Anti-Derivative Jill, and I love to explore what makes great science fiction. Usually. But sometimes I like to take apart what makes a story in general compelling. And today we have something a little different. We're taking a closer look at the animated film Watership Down. It was adapted from the novel of the same name by Richard Adams. It's a fable about a rabbit who sees a vision that his home will be destroyed. He manages to convince a few others to join him, and it's a journey to find home and survive with lots of perilous obstacles in between. And it's one of my favorite novels, and I loved this animated rendition of it too. I first engaged with it in my early adulthood. I went to Austin to intern with IBM as a computer science student, and not being a driver yet, I rode public transportation a whole lot, which required a bit of walking in between bus stops. Reading was a great way to pass the time, but still be alert enough to my surroundings, knowing when to get off the bus and everything, which is necessary in Austin to be alert because the city slogan "Keep Austin Weird" is fairly well deserved. There was one time where a very tall and large, mentally challenged person became enamored with me, admiring and singing at me quite incoherently. It was terrifying. I tried to communicate with him to tell him to back off, that I didn't want to be friends, but he didn't understand a word I said, and all the red flags were going off based on his body language and what he seemed like he wanted to do. So, at the next bus stop, I pretended to get off the bus so that he would follow. But at the last moment, I got back on the bus, and the relief was amazing. And I'll never forget the look on his face of horror when he saw that I had gotten back on and the bus left. And poor guy, but I had to keep myself.
You were a tricky rabbit. You did precisely the perfect thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's why that
you
story.
Did like a rabbit would. You went out the back door.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly why I told that story, is because it's kind of like what a rabbit would do, trying to get away from a danger that I perceived.
Yes.
But this live stream isn't about the dangers of riding the bus, but I thought it was slightly relevant.
I could go on and on about that.
it was merely the setting. I would where I read this book while waiting for the next bus. And it even reminded me of one of my older habits where I would walk while I was reading
Yes,
and walking.
I've done that too. I walked through an earthquake in downtown LA once without even noticing I was reading.
Oh my God.
Yes, I got into work and everybody's like, earthquake, earthquake. I'm like, earthquake?
What earthquake?
Yes. Yes, precisely.
Wow, that is a good story. Oh,
But reading on a bus is a good occupation too, because then you don't have to make eye contact with all the inmates of the asylum, of the rolling asylum.
Well, right, because there was only so many times I could play Snake on my phone because I didn't have a smartphone back then.
How old was intern Jill? May I ask?
Huh?
How old was intern Jill?
Oh, 20, 21.
Oh, baby.
Yeah,
intern
I was.
Oh, how darling. Good for you.
Thanks. Yeah, I had a lot of fun.
And of course they didn't pay you.
Oh no, I did get paid.
You had a paid internship.
This was a good. This was and possibly a job afterwards. I could have worked at IBM Merdell if I wanted to.
Wow.
But I didn't choose that path. Mm-hmm. And now, but this story is so thrilling to me, so engaging, and so I want to know a brief I want to get a brief idea of how you guys see this movie before we take the deep dive into my book report.
It is a book report. Excellent. Who goes first?
You can go for it first. You just saw this for the first time, right? So you didn't see it in the theater when you were, infant or not even born yet.
Right. I was 46 years young when I saw Watership Down for the first time. And
you were a few months old.
Yeah, I was a few months old, several dozens. And and I watched it. I did think it was rather beautiful. Now, I'd heard legends of this movie as being something that is adorably animated and beautiful, which this was. And I heard that basically it was traumatic to anybody who had seen it. I've seen a few comments even before this stream in the chat. Hi, chat. And they said that it was traumatic as a child. To the point where every time someone's name was listed off, I wrote down the name with high anticipations of striking those names off of the list because I was waiting for carnage. I wanted to see these rabbits die. It was a rabbit snuff film is essentially what I was told. And when not enough rabbits died, I found the fable adorable, but interminable. So I know that, yeah, that's right. And so I know that there are fans of this film, and I've always wanted to see it. It has been on my list. I am glad that has been taken off my list, but it was not as profound or touching as I have heard from other people.
You didn't like it because not enough rabbits died?
That's correct, yes.
What? There's plenty of violence in this movie, and
not enough.
There's not enough for Scotty R37. He wanted more blood.
That's right.
You know what? But there were lots of rabbits who died. Every rabbit in the original Warren where Fiverr lived died off screen. But Captain Holly comes around later to tell the story, and you get to see some of them die. I mean, you remember that trippy scene where you see
see them wedged in a hole. I was expecting when the dog and the cat showed up, or when Hazel gets shot.
Gosh,
I was like, okay. And then Bigwig gets I'm spoiling everything for this 1978.
You're spoiling, but that's fine.
Okay.
We're here to talk about the movie.
I'll hush. But that is my initial impression of this.
Not enough. Yeah.
Not enough death.
I think that the way that Richard Adams told the story was more to provide realism of how these rabbits would find their new home, but also make it a fable, so they also have the ability to reason. But the violence is not gratuitous, and you wanted gratuitous bunny death.
I was expecting trauma.
There isn't the violence in this in the novel and the book have meaning to it. It's not just there to frighten people.
That's what I heard. Anyway, that's
yeah, I know it did because children are sensitive, but they can't be. Also, they can't be. I think it's important for them to experience life and know about things. Anyway, Tiger Stripes, can you tell us about the first time you watched this movie? And
well, I hope it wasn't today. I feel like I may have seen it first run, but I have very little memory of it. And also I feel that I did read the book, which I also have very little memory of. I was a big fan of the book Rabbit Hill by Robert Lawson, which was written in 1945 and was big on the children, the shelves of the library in the elementary school when I was a kid. And that's what my illo is from, for my icon. That's Robert Lawson's illustration for his own book. And I noticed that both Watership Down won, I'm always blank, the Carnegie Medal, which is the UK Best Children's Book of the Year, and Rabbit Hill won the Newbery for Best Children's Book of the Year. So they are both considered excellent children's literature, but while there's almost no death in Rabbit Hill, there's a lot of death in Watership Down, and I can easily understand how this is traumatic for kids. it's not traumatic
Exactly.
for an adult, but for a child, especially since bunnies are the kind of animal that sooner or later we all sort of have an experience with as a pet, even if it's someone else's pet. At some point, we've all sort of met a bunny.
Well, that's the thing, is that nature doesn't care how adorable an animal is. They're just as prone to being exposed to violence.
Yes,
A dog
yes.
doesn't say, "Oh, look,
No,
here's
no. The
Bunny."
law of the jungle is that if it eats other animals and it's bigger than you, it's going to try to eat you.
And some of my
So,
favorite children's literature are the ones that don't shy away from reality, like this one, like Harry Potter and everything. I mean, I know Harry
mhm,
Potter is fantasy and magic doesn't
mhm.
exist, but they weren't afraid to. The books ramped up from showing death in the fourth book and onward.
Mhm.
And so this movie, Watership Down, 1970, it also won a Hugo Award, I think. Did it?
Wow.
Let me double check that. I feel like I read that. Oh, okay. It was nominated. It was nominated. It maybe didn't win it. It was at least, yeah, I was nominated. Let me check. Yeah, it was just a nominee.
And
But
I can see how
just
it
being
can
nominated
nominate
is
it. It's
good.
a great fantasy film.
Mhm.
It's mythic.
Very much so. And before we say hello to the chat, I want to say hello to Dan Leckie. Thank you so much. He's got an icon for Bigwig there, and I only recognize. It looks like it's from a more modern animated. I didn't even realize there were more cartoons made after this movie. So hello, Dan. What's
Hi,
your
Joe.
experience with this movie?
Thanks for having me. So my 40 plus years of existence, I've never seen the film apart from today. I watched it for the first time today, and
Awesome.
I had much the same reaction as Scotty. Didn't really enjoy it for a multitude of reasons. We'll get into that later. Um, I was shocked actually, like with the first scene. I was shocked because going by the art from the film alone, I thought it would just be, set like in the real world, apart from in the real world with like everyday animals, apart from that the animals can speak. So I didn't realize like that there is fantasy and it delved into so much mythology like from the very start. So I thought like that surprised me. But yeah, that's my experience of the film.
Well,
In a brief.
definitely, yes, yes. And so part of it is based on how animals act in reality, but
Mhm.
since it's a fable, they also have some human traits psychologically and mentally in terms of being very, these rabbits are very spiritual, and that is true.
Yeah, and I thought like different words, for things that like it seemed to like provide like an alien quality sort of.
Exactly. That's another thing that I really love about it, is that the rabbits have their own language, and I should have, um, yeah.
Yeah,
So
but because we talk about cars and stuff like that, and I was like if they just said cars, the viewer would be like, oh yeah, okay, it's just an everyday car. But I think you see more from the rabbit's perspective because it is like more alien to them.
exactly, they think, oh, this car is like an animal, but it ignores me. So I
Yeah.
just, but they also recognize the danger of it. And the rabbit, that special rabbit language that they have, that's it's called Lapine, and it was invented by Richard Adams so that the rabbits can communicate and talk about weird human stuff in their own language and things
Yeah,
like that, and their surroundings.
that's cool. I enjoyed it from like that perspective of like seeing that it was a fantasy and I enjoyed like the fantasy element.
And yeah, me too. So oh yeah, I'm going to bring up some slides too in just a second.
Well, while you're bringing up your slides, I'm just gonna give a shout out to the
Well,
good peeps in the chat. Is that cool
well,
or
well,
Yes,
that's actually what I'm doing now.
we need that. We
wicked
need to
cool?
acknowledge that great chat.
Franco Walker. But before that, I actually had a couple of chats that, of course, got eaten by YouTube. I like to save those because I really do like to read all of them. I was able to save one from Shooter 8323 that said, "I love this movie. The book is obviously better, and I don't know how Netflix could mess up their version so badly. Also,
Wow.
Silver is the best, even if he only appears briefly in the movie." Mm-hmm. And well, I wish I remembered more in the book, and so this live stream is gonna get me to go read that again because I really do love it. And Franco Walker says, "Sorry, I won't be here for this. I saw it with a friend whose pet rabbit had just died, and we knew nothing about this film. It was traumatic for her, and me trying to calm her down. We were 11 years old."
Oh, Franco.
Mhm.
Wow. See, Franco is still carrying that to this day.
Yes. Yes, he is. And that is the experience that a lot of children had watching this movie, thinking they're getting a fun bunny adventure and not really realizing the harsh realities that are interjected into it. The Comic Relief Crusader, hello.
Hey.
Oh, and before we go any further, I want to thank Eugene Bird for an amazing super chat that I have yet to go collect. He sent me a $100 super chat, and I want to thank you so much. Yeah, and I do need to go pick it up, and I just really wanted to thank you for that, and it's going to be put to good use. Thank you so much.
Rabbit season.
I didn't think I could give you
Rabbit season.
an appropriate compensation for that. And I don't know, just
Yippee!
Very generous, very lovely.
Yes. Oh, this chat is great. And Gavin Blackburn is here. A nice film about bunnies. It'll be cute, right? Right. And so that is the prevailing notion, is that this movie has a bunch of bunny violence, and so that over extended it, and that made Scotty think that this was what's that movie?
Yeah, I think there's a real.
Is it about bunnies? Which movie?
No. It made Scotty think this was the bunny version of Battle Royale or something. And
yeah,
that's exactly what I thought it was going to be.
Kind of is.
Oh, Buried Alive doesn't count.
But that's one of the themes of the whole thing, is how the horrors that the bunnies have to endure, that humanity, humans don't think anything of it. They think, oh, we're just building some new homes for people, and this is going to be great. And they don't think about all of the lives, all of the ecology that they're disturbing as a result of their plans.
I got so excited when they were hanging out on the road saying cars didn't care about them. And I was like, oh, fingers crossed. Bunny's going to get hit by a car. Bunny's going to get hit by a car. And no one gets hit by a car. And I was like, how did
well, there is something. There is something dead in the road. So there's that.
Yes. Right. There's roadkill to show. And yeah, but that's still showing the death that occurred. Just because you didn't get to see it die doesn't mean it's not still dead. And I think
it's all Bigwig who says they don't care about us, and then like a little red sports car comes along and swerves to hit him, which is what some people do.
That's
some
gross.
Horrible, conscienceless people.
Like, and that's the thing, is that when I am talking about this and talking about it like it is an animated version of Battle Royale, or that's what I wanted, it's not that I advocate for the death of rabbits. I love rabbits. As you see, my previous avatar was Bugs Bunny, obviously my favorite rabbit. Now I've got the Playboy Bunny, which obviously my favorite lady rabbit. And so, like, I am a big advocate for nature. I in no way am like, yay, death to animals. I don't like that. What the thing that I was sort of holding it shoulder to shoulder with, and I was expecting it to be as traumatic, was The Secret of Nim. I was like, oh, this is going to be Secret of Nim good. And now I just want to watch Secret of Nim again.
Well, that's a good movie too, but that's very different for sure. And I want to say hello to Canadian Spider-Man. He says he
Right.
never read the book. He read To Kill a Mockingbird, and that there's a lot of action and even a car chase in this book. What? Oh,
Well,
There's chases.
there are definitely chases and there are cars, but maybe not a car chase.
I thought there was a big mismatch between like the film's reputation and the film itself,
Yeah.
like Scotty was saying.
Right,
with you on
right.
that,
And that's a big loss that too many people just say, "Oh, it's a bunny killing movie." If you just go by that, then you miss the whole point. Eugene Bird says Franco Walker understood. My in-laws rabbit Cone injured herself. Oh my gosh. Okay, so
Perish.
they had a funeral,
Eugene
flowers,
Bird
everything. That's beautiful.
Eugene Bird has an in-law who has a rabbit called Cone, and she injured herself and died from her injuries. And as a result, they had a funeral with flowers, like Tiger Stripe said, and everything. Cone was short for Gonea, and she'd let you pick her up and pet her.
That's
so
remarkably
sorry.
tolerant in a rabbit.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, they don't like being touched.
They don't like being lifted because they're sort of glued to the ground in nature. To be lifted
Mhm.
above the ground is to perhaps be, say, being taken by a hawk. It means death.
Oh, for
Oh.
real, that's true.
Yes. So
Right.
if they will tolerate your holding them and lifting them off the ground, that means they really love you.
They really love you, they really trust you, and that happens with the other animals. If they show you their belly, that means they're comfortable with you.
Yes. Yes, I've had really just a little interaction with actual rabbits in my life, and a couple of times it's been pretty darn traumatic. They're so
And
fragile.
oh yeah, they are. They can have a heart attack on
Yes,
something
they can just
small.
give it up because they're frightened.
Yep. But
Yes.
I want to say hello to Captain Notfinity and Sci-Fi Mombi, as well as Sentai Ranger Donnie
Donnie,
and Gorilla's Random Thoughts. I found a bunch of New York strip steaks for about $3 a piece. Wow. Okay, wait a minute.
that's a deal.
Yeah, that's a great deal. Yeah, that is okay. I would where? Well, I don't live where you are, but I'd run to go get those. James Caserta. Oh man, Hill. Oh mighty Jill. Oh goodness.
Jill is our Frith. She makes the world.
Right, long ago, the great Frith made the world. That's how this movie starts with It starts with the creation story.
Yeah, I
But
wondered
before
about
I actually have that in my notes. Creation myth.
I wondered about the myth because I wondered, they referred to like the nights are really short as you actually see. So I wondered like if that might be like an aspect of this particular world.
the nights are short.
Yeah,
Wait, the
They
night.
do make
How are
mention
the
of
nights
that.
short? What do you mean?
they
Well,
mentioned that. Yeah,
What?
They do say that it's springtime. Like they don't want to leave their home after Fiber has his vision because it's springtime. It's mating season. We can't leave. And then
transcript?
and they say let's start. Let's leave. We'll discuss this in the summertime. And then two of the men that are sort of off screen say that the guy has to take his wife to a show at 8:00, but the sun goes down so late. It's by the time it's sunset, it's already morning. And
Yeah.
so I think it's just, I think it is just reference to the season. I took it as being on Earth. Like I took it as being in the real world. This wasn't like a fantastic
Yeah, me too.
situation for
It
me.
is. Yeah, it's just seasonal. I didn't realize that. I didn't think about that in terms of
I
what
thought it
you're
was
saying.
maybe
I don't know. Actually, I actually don't understand what you're saying.
I thought maybe it was in another world, but it makes sense. It makes more sense if it's set on Earth because they mentioned the month of May.
Yes.
Yes. I'm pretty sure they're on Earth. And anyway, the rabbits. It could be any world because the rabbits are so self-contained, and we only see their world, and their world is very small. Gavin Blackburn says, my grandparents sat me down in front of this when I was about 5 or 6, under the attitude of, it's a cartoon, you'll love it. and it was traumatizing. Yeah, if you're not ready for it, 5 or 6 might be young.
And you were a good, obedient child, Gavin, because you sat and watched it all. That's some children run screaming the second they're traumatized. So you were brave. You were a brave boy.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, I can sympathize to a certain degree because I saw What's Opera doc, and so when Bugs dies at the end of that, I remember being traumatized and
Or when
I
you think
cried.
when you think that when you think
Yes.
that he's died, and Elmer Fudd is actually like this guy's been chasing this rabbit all this time trying to kill him, but when he actually thinks he does kill him, he's distressed.
But he gives you a wink at the end.
Yes,
Mhm.
Yeah,
but
Bugs
still,
does. So
I remember looking
It
at my
is.
mom and I was like, "Is he really gone? Is
Well,
Bugs? There's
it's an
no more
opera. What
Bugs
did you
Bunnies?"
expect?
That's exactly what he says. Yeah, you expected a happy ending? No, I want to
DJ
show you.
Play Nice.
Sorry.
Oh, before you do, I do have to finish saying hi to the people who are here. DJ Play Nice is here. I taught this book to my 8th graders during ED degree field experience. It was a blast.
cool.
Nice.
So you really have some insights.
Playboy Bunny confirmed.
Yes, I'm bouncing back and forth. I'm gonna play with it.
And Burger414 says, I changed my avatar to 2 of the stuffed bunnies watching this live stream. Oh,
Hooray.
nice.
Oh,
Booger.
And Canadian Spider-Man did recently have some rabbit stew. Not sure the meat was worth the effort.
it's all legs, rabbit.
They're all legs.
That's what I hear.
There you go. Old Yeller. Oh, hell. Yeah, that was brutal, says Canadian Spider-Man. And so this movie. Let me see where it was.
I went to a birthday party, and it was right when like people were just renting VCRs,
Yeah.
and so they rented Old Yeller for us. And so it's like, what a way to kill a party! Here, kids, have some cake. Watch Old Yeller.
Wow, that's not right. That's not right at all.
That's really not. That's kind of sick.
Well, that was my childhood. Waka waka.
Well,
was it your party?
No, but I cried.
I'm happy
'cause
to
I
hear
had
that your
to.
parents are smarter than that.
Yes. Yeah.
Before we discuss the themes of the movie and this clear allegory that I see throughout the film, there's one detail you must know, that Richard Adams never intended for any of that. He says that it's only a made-up story and in no sense an allegory or parable, any kind of political myth. I simply wrote down a story I told to my little girls. Yes, despotic baddie General Woundworth's origins. Yeah. So anyway, that's from an article I was reading earlier. But Adams continues, I just began off the top of my head. While this was during so he was having these car journeys with his daughters, and he was telling them stories. And one of the daughters asked for a news story, and he says, I just began off the top of my head. Once upon a time, there were 2 rabbits called, let me see, Hazel and Fiber. And I'm going to tell you about some of their adventures. And he is relieved. I despise allegory. I love allegory. Anyway, Adams only started writing after he served the British Army during World War II, and he was also a civil servant in England. And this was his first novel. It was a story that he told his daughters on a road trip, and they begged him to write it down. So it kind of reminds me of, how Lord of the Rings began also as a children's story that Tolkien was telling his son until he started writing it down. And it's also Watership Down is also based on The Private Life of a Rabbit by R.M. Lockley. And so that's where he gets his idea of how rabbits live on the countryside. And this movie was released in the UK at a London premiere on October 19th, 1978. and in the US on November 1st, 1978. It was directed by Martin Rosen, who also wrote the screenplay and was a producer. And so, yes, there's a
Yeah, that guy
as
was
we,
invested. He really made this film happen, it sounds like.
yeah,
I
he
was
did.
surprised to see that. All three, the big three, writer, producer, director.
Exactly. He wrote the teleplay, the screenplay, the teleplays for TV. But Richard Adams, of course, as we mentioned earlier, created the rabbit language. He invented the entire myth of the sun god, the Frith. And so, yes, that's the mythology of it. And so there's some anthropomorphism here, obviously, with the whole religion and everything. But it is also about the rabbits. And
Well,
it starts with this.
it reflects a lot of the world mythology because rabbits are a big figure in many, many folk tales.
That's a good point. And the movie starts with the creation story. Who is the great Frith, and does he need a starship? Frith is the god entity who created the world, and so I'm assuming this is how the rabbits see it. Yes, this is the rabbits' mythology, because that's what fables do. They imprint human traits onto animals to tell the story. And in this case, we know right away that the rabbits see the world in the spiritual manner. This makes sense as they don't have the means to understand the scientific method so well. So I think both are important, but it makes sense the bunnies get this one. This creation story looks so different from the rest of the movie because this movie was almost directed by John Hughley. He left after he disagreed with Martin Rosen. So that's how Martin Rosen became the director of his own writing.
Oh.
But this is, you can see his work, Hughley's work, in this scene. He was replaced by Rosen. And so for this story, all the animals were made the same, except for that the bunnies still could multiply like tribbles and were taking up too much of the food that the other animals couldn't eat. So Frith gave all the other animals different gifts in order to bring order to the overpopulating bunnies, because the Prince Rabbit didn't listen to Frith and wouldn't control his people's they're making too many bunnies and eating too much of the food. So the fox came, and so the movie says, when the fox came and others like the dog and cat, the hawk and weasel, to each of them, Frith gave a desire to hunt and slay the children of El Arara. Okay, so I might mispronounce some of the bunny language. And actually, with the opening credits like these, I wonder why people were surprised how graphic the movie became. Because right here, right away, we see all of the bunnies being killed by all the different animals. It has naturalistic violence from the very beginning. The rabbit's arrogance in controlling his own population led him to becoming the prey in the animal kingdom, according to his own religion. It's a way that the rabbits make sense of their lot in the universe in that role.
Here in that slide, it says Richard Adams is Watership Down.
Yes.
I was like, should it not? I'm not
Grammar
sure.
Grammar police.
Yeah, sorry. Not be S apostrophe, not two S's at the end.
Right.
Yes,
You don't need.
S.
Yeah, you don't need the S. This is correct. This is grammatically incorrect. If you have an S at the end of your name or the possessive noun, you don't need an extra S.
I'm so happy that we're all on board for that. I was really overdoing it. Yay!
Yes. That bothered me too, but I didn't put it in my notes.
I did.
See, I think Dan and I liked the movie so much that punctuation and grammar is the thing that popped up to our attention first. Actually, before this one, it says that the production company is called Nepenthe, which I found interesting because that's the name of a Star Trek Picard season 1 episode, and also it is a drug of forgetfulness in ancient Greece.
A drug of it doesn't surprise me that
Well,
New
it's
Trek
it's a
would name
river
their
whose waters cause forgetfulness, and so
Yes.
it's sort of become associated with drugs.
Which I'm a fan of.
Yeah.
So
and New Trek loves drugs too.
Clearly.
I've watched the entire film and I still don't understand why it's called Watership Down.
because it's
That's
the
the
name
name.
of where it is. It's
Yeah,
Watership
that's-
in Hampshire.
Is that where they
Oh,
end up? Oh, really?
Yes.
That's wow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's the end goal. Is Watership Down is where they end up. And at the
Yes.
very end, that's where Fiverr finds the perfect place,
But it's
the
a real
perfect hill
place.
to live. And
Apparently,
New Hampshire.
Oh.
Yeah, right? New Hampshire. I think.
Oh, Hampshire.
No, just Hampshire.
New
just
Hampshire
Hampshire.
would be in America. Like
Oh,
in New
right,
England.
right. Yeah,
Yeah,
see,
all
I
the-
get my
all- yes.
Hampshires mixed up.
Stephen
But
If you
you
add
King
new, it's
presents.
in America. But if it's just in England, it's Hampshire.
Well, but Texas is very hilly too, where I live, and so there are some places where I drive, and I think, oh, the Watership Down bunnies must be up there,
Aw.
and so also there's an interesting kind of character in this movie called the Black Rabbit, and so it's kind of like death.
The Black Rabbit of Death.
Yeah, and so we at first we're not really told. Well, actually, we're never really told who that is exactly. So, but we do see it. It does come up at the end, a very important scene.
Yeah, which is also a problem that I had, and it was just like, oh, natural.
Well, we
causes.
should probably talk about that when we
Exciting.
get to the end.
Yes.
Oh, I mean, we could talk about the end
You
now.
you
but-
have a problem with having a happy death, of having a full life, accomplishing all of the goals that you set out in life to do, and being able to die peacefully in your sleep, or
I don't disagree
have a
with
problem
that.
with
But
that?
if you've been shot and you are in the clutches of a cat and you still make it away, and then you absolutely, it's a lovely story and it's a great way for Hazel's story to end. I am
Mhm.
fine with that. But when I was told about this film in the first place, I thought it was going to be like an abattoir, a rabbitoir.
Okay. I still
Should I
don't
not
understand your
focus?
point. No,
Should
I
don't
no.
have a
Your
point.
focus
You
is
do go on about
I'm-
it, Scott.
I'm
We
just-
understand
I'm just-
your extreme disappointment that there's just not rabbit parts everywhere.
yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
I wanted,
Like
Get
I
it.
wanted a rabbit side.
We
you
understand.
do realize
Yeah.
you do realize there was a bit of a time lapse between when the story
Yes.
ended, where they got where they
I
started
had
it.
issues. I had issues with that too, but that's
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
end. I thought.
Yeah,
I mean,
they-
we're gonna
they-
start by discussing the end.
I don't know, whatever. I mean, because this is
think we're
this
bouncing
is a great
around.
movie. We can bounce around if we want to.
Well, because
and
it's
so-
rabbits, I guess we can bounce around like that.
Right, exactly.
But-
And so I think there was a long time lapse between when they achieved their goal of establishing Watership Down and when I think at the very last scene of the movie is when Hazel is older. And so a lot of time has passed, and so he's finally ready. Because you see lots of baby rabbits and all this, so at least
They
half
could
a
have
year.
made it a little clearer. They could
They
have,
could have.
they could have done a thing where, like in Harry Potter, where the tree changes seasons, so that you could see a year go by.
Yes.
But they didn't. It could
Yeah,
have been
or
clearer.
they could have changed his fur a little bit.
Yeah, it could have looked a little more raggedy.
Mm.
But it is what it is.
Yes.
I
So
thought-
the
But I-
film. Oh yeah, you're right. The
Really?
film was produced by Nepenthe Productions and Martin Rosen Enterprises. But go ahead, Scotty R37. You had a remark.
No, I do have to. I should reel in my bloodlust and say that I did enjoy. Like this is a very. It's beautiful. Like it's gorgeous in terms of its presentation. There are transitions from night to day where you slowly see sort of sunlight flood the woods. Like it's gorgeous looking. I cannot I cannot say how beautiful this is. If you're an art student, if you're a fan of animation, the score is ridiculously engaging. I love the cast, like hearing John Hurt is always
John
a
Hurt.
pleasure.
Well, John Hurt, of course, from Alien. He's the one who gets his chest bursted, right?
Yes.
And yes, I
And so
think
yeah,
beautiful movie too. The animation was done with traditional hand-drawn animation, and it's gorgeous. And it just feels the whole world just feels like being in a painting.
I was not a fan. I wasn't a fan of how impressionistic the backgrounds are.
Wait, what's the word?
Impressionistic.
I can't understand.
really
Can you
impressionistic.
repeat? Impressionistic?
Yeah.
I got watercolors.
That's
You
what I
know,
got.
I got a watercolor design. I wouldn't call it completely impressionistic.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
not really a fan of watercolors usually.
well, there you go.
Yeah,
I thought the backgrounds were very beautiful.
cool. I like the colors used, I guess.
I
Um,
thought it was gorgeous, but I
yeah.
can understand if you don't like it.
With this, I was like, geez, I can't even get like 5 minutes into watching the film without like finding an issue with the S apostrophe S.
Wow. And see, my biggest problem was that because the rabbits talk, and then when they go and they meet up with the cat and the dog, and obviously the bird talks, and I was like, why doesn't the dog talk? What is it's sort of like how Goofy wears pants but Pluto doesn't. I don't understand the rules in this world.
Oh, I'm sure the dog can talk, but it's just busy barking and killing.
Yeah.
As
cat,
would we all be if we had to live on the end of a chain.
yes.
I had a
Right,
problem
the
with
cat-
like I had a problem with the sheer like size of the cast. It had me guessing like who the main character is supposed to be because the bunnies look quite similar to each other.
I can say too that the performances were all so uniform. All of these men had clearly had British dramatic training, and they all had the same timbre of voice and pacing and tone, and it was really difficult to tell them apart vocally.
Yeah.
Well, and aside from
I can
Bigwig,
understand that.
Bigwig and Woundwort, like they were distinct, but everyone
look at
else.
that beautiful picture! Oh my god,
that is a beautiful and the
this
transition
picture could almost disappoint you for the rest of the film, actually.
But I do think at the very end there is a payoff with it when it sort of goes to almost when spoilers passes spoilers, and it's almost like sketched.
You already spoiled it.
Yeah. So when Hazel dies and then leaves the body, it becomes almost like a hand-drawn sketch. Again, it looked really fantastic.
Yeah, because he's going into the other realm of the afterlife, and I do like the transition of it. And so
I want to add a Jim in the chat.
Jim's here.
Jim's here.
Jim's landscape. Okay.
Jim's landscape. Just wanted to say hello.
Ooh,
okay. We'll save this. We'll save
probably
this.
had a lot of experience with bunnies.
Oh yeah, for sure. A lot of the trauma from watching this movie is not just from the death. It's the danger and the threat of death that is pervasive. Yes, and I think that this film is incredible at doing cutaway shots of the rabbits escaping danger or sensing danger, and you can get a feel of what it's like to actually be a rabbit who has to pay attention to their surroundings, to look, listen, smell, hear what's going on in order to determine the best course of action to not die. Canadian Spider-Man says that seems like it would be sarcasm, but I'm not familiar with impressions. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, Scotty.
Well, no, because when Fiver has his first vision of the down being covered in blood, and that's when they have to go at the very beginning and be like, oh yeah, no, Fiver's freaking out. I kept thinking of Grandpa Simpson from the beginning of the Simpsons movie, where he's like, "Eepaw, eepaw," and so that was very fun for me. I was just thinking of the person who was sort of warning of impending danger, and it was like, yeah.
Well, yeah, that or that time travel episode from Voyager, who had that future time travel guy going back in time and just being one of those, the end is near, and got
Yes.
crazy
Yeah.
people. So, and so this movie takes its time to transport you to the rabbit's home. I think it's great.
Yes.
The backgrounds and locations, they're based on diagrams and maps of Richard Adams' original novel. And the places in this movie either exist or are based in real places in Hampshire and places around there. When we finally meet the rabbits, we see that extremely detailed close-up of Hazel, which was stunning. And then we pull back to a more normalized animated rabbit shot as Fiverr decides that the warren's safe after all. But he still feels weird about something. Something feels weird. But the rabbits, they're hungry, so they get distracted with that. And they find the best leaves called cowslips, which Fiverr is an expert at locating. However, there's a bunny hierarchy here, kind of like a monarchy. So the very first warren we see is I know he didn't try to make these political structures, but he did a good job of doing what he wasn't trying to do. And so they dictate that only the Auslas can have the best leaves. And so it doesn't matter that Fiverr found it, he can't have it. And so it right away touches on the theme of power and control in a class-based society that values some members over others, regardless of their talents. And so the lesser citizens are called outskirts. And that's Fiverr and Hazel, they're brothers. Captain Affinity says Timba is arms wide.
I was kind of wondering why Fiverr was called Fiverr. I suppose it's because he was the fifth born and therefore the runt.
He is definitely, he is put down by a lot of his peers for being the runt of his litter.
Everybody else has a very organic name, after all the plants, and yet poor Fiverr is called Fiverr. It's just okay.
Yeah, that's a good point. And Fiverr runs into the sign. He runs into the sign, and it opened up his eyes. He saw the sign. And then I gave him...
Is that an Ace of Base reference? I can hardly recognize you. Anyway.
And it gave him a vision of the future that fills the field with blood. Even Hazel, who takes Fiverr more seriously than anybody else, thinks this idea is silly, but still supports him in going to tell leadership on what's going on.
See, and when I saw the burning cigarette at the base of that sign, I was like, so are we going to get a forest fire? Because that'd be fun. And no.
But
that could happen. You are seeing the effects of humanity's
invasion. I kind of
thought
it would be a forest fire too until I saw the sign, and the sign tells us as the audience what the rabbits can't read.
Yes.
Right. The rabbits can't read, unfortunately.
No, this is an actual vision. Fiverr is totally tripping. You should appreciate that, Scotty.
I do.
He does.
I do.
I think that Fiverr's entire life is tripping. He sees the world differently.
Fiverr's tripping balls. That poor kid.
Mm-hmm. But he doesn't see it as weird. This is just how he sees the world. We think it's tripping, but that's just his life. Hold on a moment. I'm drinking coffee.
We got trouble right here in Watership Down.
I have one. So for Mother's Day, I got this really cool mug that keeps coffee warm for you, and it's really good. And so it's making me want to drink more of it. So I need just a second.
Neat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. River City? Oh,
that's right.
Well, this is way, way more dangerous than a pool hall. This is urban development.
Yes, urban development. How old were you when you learned of urban development through the forced relocation of rabbits?
And so Fiverr, he tells everybody, you got to get out of here. The sky is falling. The sky is falling. We must tell the president. But Bigwig stands in his way. And this is I guess this is like how government can be obstinate when listening to reason can put their power in jeopardy.
I think this was one of my favorite parts of the film. With the introduction of Bigwig. I thought he was initially depicted as a great comic relief character. I thought it was really really cool.
Oh yeah, I
Well-
like all the characters here.
Well, and that, yes. I think
Actually-
that Bigwig is our wharf. If there is a problem, then we throw Bigwig at it, and then if Bigwig survives, everything's fine.
No, I can appreciate Bigwig because I can tell him apart from the other bunnies because of that mop of hair.
Yeah.
But it turns out to be almost the hero of the story as opposed to Hazel.
Yeah, he's
He
like
kind
the
of
li-
is.
He's like the Little John of this Robin Hood story.
Yeah, he's someone who could have used his power for, his strength against the
Hazel,
the-
yeah.
against Hazel, but instead he sees something in Fiverr and he believes in him and goes on and helps. He helps a lot.
But he also bullies and threatens Fiverr at some point down the line.
Yes, he does. He does.
It's-
He gets fed up with. He gets
so
fed up
he's
with it when he-
multifaceted for a bunny.
Mhm. But of course the chief completely dismisses all of this. Oh no, I got two screens there. There's the chief. He's gotten a bit lazy. He's old and he's not paying attention anymore to reality.
He's enormous and gray.
Yeah. It's like he just spends all his time in this hutch here, just chilling.
I
Oh,
love the
okay.
phrase. I love the phrase "a bad danger." I was like, a danger would be enough, but I thought like for them to refer to it as a bad danger, I think, was an interesting choice.
Yes, it's a descriptive of how Fiverr feels about what's going to happen. He doesn't know precisely what's going on, but he knows it's bad, and I think it has to do with the way that he senses the world. Since it's close to the road, says Booger 414. Wait, since it's close to the road and the rover, it could be considered transit-oriented development. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Other side of state, but it counts. Eugene Bird says, what makes sounds sound different from one another are distortions known as overtones or harmonics. There is a dominant frequency, a note, if a musical instrument, in each little bit of your speech.
Yeah, that changes the timbre.
And yet I do believe that almost all of these gentlemen in this film, the actors were all trained by Rada. They were all trained to have the same dulcet tone.
Yeah, but it's not RP. It's not received pronunciation.
You know, it's just such a relief when Zero Pastel turns up and you can say, "Oh my God, it's a voice I can differentiate from all the others."
Yeah. But the voices of the humans, kept thinking that they sound really regional.
As do you, which I love.
Oh, I agree.
Other rabbits have been listening to Fiverr's warnings and are heeding them. I mean, of course, Hazel is his biggest supporter, saying he's had these feelings before and he's been right again and again. And I guess it's kind of an early indication of Bigwig trying to pay attention to Fiverr, because any other Owsla wouldn't have let them have this meeting with the chief at all. So,
As for the sounds, I thought the music is great, but I thought it seemed like overblown or whatever to me, and quite depressing at times.
do you think the music was overblown and depressing?
Yeah.
Wow. I thought it was beautiful and fit every scene perfectly. But I do enjoy having different opinions about this movie. So thank you for bringing yours. So
It was
then as they escape, we finally see the building and how it says, this ideally situated estate comprising 6 acres of excellent building land is to be developed with high-class modern residences by such and Martin. Proof that Fiverr is correct. But of course, the bunnies can't read it.
the rabbits are kind of melding in with the attic system.
Yeah. The Erics, yeah. Yeah, the Erics is there to help protect us from copyright copyright claims. So Bigwig does end up deciding to leave the leadership and listen to Fiverr. And of course, this is very helpful when another Owsla tries to stop the party from leaving. Of course, this is not before a brief skirmish where a little fur is lost. And so it's a foreshadowing of future violence. And so, yeah, even though they're cute, cuddly creatures, they can be aggressive. With Bigwig, all the other outskirts rabbits hightail it out of there. But yeah, there's a little fight that occurs. Gavin Blackburn in the chat says in the late 70s, early 80s, a lot of Britain's old railway lines were being converted into motorways, which included the removal of old tunnels and mass re-landscaping. A lendril. A lendry. But that looks like a badger to me. But they, of course, use different words for different animals than we do. Because of the rabbit language. And they can't really develop it too much because it's such a short movie, but it's a little fuller in the book, of course. Is Watership Down a real place, do you think, Gavin? I think it's...
Oh, it is. I just looked it up.
Mm-hmm.
It's in Hampshire.
Yeah, it's a real place in Hampshire.
A massive down. Yeah, it's a real place.
I wonder if the rabbits live there still in the thousands and thousands of generations.
Presumably, it might help with tourism in that area.
Mm-hmm. Well, definitely, I would tour it. I'd like to go camping. Not Vinity says Echo Beach is based on a real place, and so you're mentioning the music. It was scored by Angela Morley and Malcolm Williamson. And so Morley replaced Williamson after the other composer. He couldn't make the deadlines. And yes.
Is Echo Beach in this one?
No. I don't know why I don't know. I was just reading the chat. Okay. James Caserta said, I thought this was a submarine movie. Wait a minute, what? No. I have flashbacks of Titanic looking at that floating wood. Don't do it, rabbits.
Yeah, I think there's like an ongoing theme of water, from what I can gather. Like
Definitely.
I looked up, like we use in Scotland, we use the word firth, like as a spectrum. Because I was wondering, I'd forgotten that there's like an area.
Oh, really? Wait a minute. What do you say? What are you saying? Firth means?
It's like a special water. It's to do with water.
Oh, so really?
It works hand in hand with like Watership Down, I think. Yeah, there's an area in Scotland. It's called the Firth of Forth. So it's like the opening of a river or something like that. I think the Forth is the river. So the Firth would be the opening of it.
Oh, the opening of the... Okay, so a firth is the opening of the sea? Or the water or something?
Something like that. Yeah.
Interesting. No, I didn't know that. Okay, that makes sense. Now I know why the rabbits will worship it. I thought it was like a sun god, but maybe it's more of a water god.
Well, they say they use a name later in the film that they say like refer to a chief's name or something like that, and they add Ra to the end of that, which I thought, well, historically, there was the religion in Egypt that was about Ra, the sun god. So I thought, like, why didn't they use Ra for the name of the sun god in this film? But well, it's Earth and stuff.
Well, that's
I
enlightening
actually
to
think
me.
it's
Thank you.
Frith, not Firth, but Frith.
Oh, Frith. Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I got confused.
But you know what? Maybe that's intentional.
Well, and when I wrote down Frith, because they kept saying like "thank Frith" or "it's Frith's will," I wrote it down so I would remember it. And a capital R kind of looks like a capital A, and so I was like, did they just supplant the A in faith for Frith? And so I thought that was sort of a unique turn of word.
So I've just looked up Frith, and apparently it's an archaic spelling of fur.
Perfect.
So it means the same thing.
Nice.
So they are. Okay, so these are two things that I didn't think about. That is also a nice way to think about it, Scotty, is that it has to do with faith, because it definitely does. James Caserta says, I'm going to call Jill Thumper. That's what they call me, Thumper.
I'm Flower.
You can call me Flower if you want to.
See, there you go. There's another traumatic childhood film, Bambi.
True.
And they have a forest fire. Why can't we get like a mother? Never mind.
Okay, I've gone to the Watership Down wiki.
Yes.
Where it says Frith is Old English for peace and freedom.
Oh, okay. Well, yes, I'm so glad everybody's touching on this idea.
Hey. What?
Peace and freedom and water and sun and God, and so there's so much symbolism in this movie.
Yeah, isn't that Lassie?
Yeah, I was gonna say, is Fiverr in the well?
Well, I just like this dog.
Yeah.
So there's
good dog.
I just love. Oh yeah, he's being a good dog. He's being a good boy, doing what he's supposed to do. So I love the way that this movie does the jump cuts of the rabbits, looking all over, seeing the woods, seeing the creepy eyes, the owls, hearing danger all over. I really get the fear and the paranoia and the jumpiness of what it's like to be prey, trying to stay a step ahead of something that wants to eat you. And I love how the colors change in this movie from going from dark into day. I think the way the art in this movie is very enchanting. And I could see. Oh, yes.
I love like the weird swirly sequences that are like hallucinogenic almost.
Oh yes, that's the way. I love those. That's the way that Fiverr sees the world.
Very 70s.
Definitely. I can see how some kid might be coming into this movie right in the middle on TV and seeing all this lovely magnificence of nature, this gorgeous stunningness, and then being traumatized by not getting the cute happy story that they thought they were getting.
I think I actually prefer seeing it as the screenshots rather than watching it as a film.
Oh, thank you.
Oh yeah. Like I do, if like animation cells, I would proudly put any one of the animation cells on a wall.
Yeah.
Well, if you watch the whole thing from the beginning, you can see it rev up to the violence from the beginning, from the fur being ripped off with the Owsla fight from earlier, and the first mythology scene where all those rabbits died. And of course, speaking of death, there's some more death right here. There's a little whatever this rodent thing kind of thing is. It's dead on the ground. I don't know if that's
Kelly,
a
Kelly's
hedgehog or
roadkill. You
a
kill him, we grill
porcupine.
him.
Well, what you just you kill something in the road and you take it to this restaurant and they cook it for you.
That's It's a reference
Wow.
from Lethal Weapon 2, but yes.
Oh,
I like
okay.
I like this. I like how they describe the cars as haroo-doo-doo-doos, because it sounds like when you try and turn a car over, like an old 70s car, and it doesn't quite catch right at the beginning. Haroo-doo-doo-doo.
Exactly. Well, that is the whole point of the rabbit language is when they don't know what something is, they use kind of onomatopoeia or
Mhm.
the sounds of that thing
Well, it's like
to name it.
when Kehaar is saying, it's a boat, it's a man vessel or something, and then everyone's like, no, it just floats. That's all it is. It just floats.
Yeah, yeah, it just floats. I do like the way he talks. He's very matter of fact, and he's helpful. He's a little bit stupid, but he's a little dense. But he's also kind of
Well,
wise at the same time.
yes. So Watership Down in a nutshell is we got to get out of this place. They have a journey. They walk there. It's very Lord of the Rings. They get there,
Yeah, it
and then
is.
they realize, wait, where are the women's at? Where are all the white wabbits? And then they have to get laid. And then they try and infiltrate a barn that has lady rabbits because they need tail. Or there's this other place that is run by Wound Worm, and they want to get the girls out of there. And that's basically the impetus for this is so that the rabbits will do what rabbits do, which is do like rabbits.
That's the whole
In
goal,
fact,
of course.
that's the whole goal. This is a road trip to get your game on.
But the journey there and Hazel going from an ordinary rabbit to a position of leadership is a fun thing for me to watch. One of the lines I like is,
Yes.
"We got into this together. We'll get out of it together."
Do you have that Spock quote? That Spock McCoy from All Our Yesterdays? I'll look for it.
We go together or not at all. Don't be a fool.
Yeah, see? That one scene. Fantastic. Love it.
Yeah. And they do, and because they're determined, and even from the first obstacle of using a wooden plank, where the weaker rabbits are sitting on it while the stronger rabbits swim them across. That's already, you like teamwork. I thought you might like it, but I guess not.
I do. I think that this is beautiful. I think it's gorgeous. But again,
Mhm.
I was the hype that was surrounding it was I think like people say that it was traumatizing as a child, and maybe it's just because I'm sort of older and more jaded. And yeah. But like I was thinking about Secret of Nim. I was thinking about Bambi. I like at times I was thinking because when Kehaar shows up, I was like, oh, this is kind of like Scuttle from The Little Mermaid, the original, not the
Kinda.
remake. So
And
but,
I
yeah,
thought of Scuttle too. I did think of Scuttle too. This sequel I think is a little smarter than Scuttle.
yes.
I do
And
like that
oddly
they
enough,
portray these birds as in the way they do. It's just great.
yes. And Zero Mostel, I was very happy to see that he was doing the cast. Like the cast on this is really phenomenal. You got like Ralph Richardson and Denholm Elliott and Zero Mostel. Like the people who show up in this, I'm just like, wow, it's so rich. Like it is, but it's I don't know. It's kind of it's a little. It wasn't what I was expecting. Hey, Penny's here. Hey, Penny.
Well, I guess maybe that's a key is don't go into it and judge it based on what it is rather than what you want it to be, which sounds like something that you tell me all the time. I
True.
don't know why
That
now
is.
I'm telling you that.
Well, I did like go into with the intention of keeping my mind as open as possible, but nonetheless, like the reputation is like completely different to what the film actually is. So I
through
found
a
it difficult to avoid the disappointment.
through adult eyes, I think.
Yeah.
Like Dan, I'm with you. Like I am totally with you on sort of being nonplussed by it and trying to find things that I really enjoy about it. But again,
Yeah.
I think that that's a separation of watching it as an adult as opposed to encountering an animated film as a child and being like, okay, there's gonna be a song, there's gonna be antics. Everyone's gonna be fine, and then it's just sort of this is much more slice of life for an animation that may be an introduction to sort of adult themes or adult more reality based, even though we
Exactly.
Yeah.
do have talking rabbits.
That's what I love about that. Some of my favorite children's literature are things that touch on reality, what it's going to be like to grow up, and I think so. I don't think.
But even like viewing the film like through like the eyes of what a child would get from it, perhaps, like like it was difficult to understand. So well, because I said already, like I found like the cast, the main cast was really big and quite. I found the storyline quite convoluted, and the main cast very similar to each other. I was like, well, who's the main character here? So those things given, like I
Fiber
was
and
like,
Hazel.
how would a kid follow this?
Fiber and Hazel.
Yeah,
Fiber and Hazel. They start the movie. They're the main characters. They're the leaders.
yeah.
They're the ones who guide the other rabbits. I will agree with you on one thing. The character development in the animated film is not as expansive and clearly interwoven as the book, the novel. Of course, the story is always true, that almost always true, that the novel is going to be better than the movie and better at explaining the characters and how they interact with the world. But I think this was still really well done for something that had to adapt over 400 pages into 90 minutes.
Holy crikey! This is 413 pages as a novel.
And yet they gave it a children's book award. It's just kind of amazing, really.
Wow.
Yes.
I don't think they wanted to acknowledge that it was really a fantasy book for adults, so they just threw a Carnegie at it.
Is that what happened?
I don't know. You just have to wonder sometimes how people think.
Yeah. Well,
but
I think if it had been more intended for adults, probably the allegorical aspect might be more flashed out and firmer.
Oh, Violet's about to die.
Yeah, Violet is not a character in the book, but they put her here as the only doe.
Barely a character in the movie. The only reason Violet exists is to be taken away, and this is what I'm going to do. If I may open my camera. I apologize. I'm not in my usual library.
Yeah.
But I did start making a list of every named character so that I could strike those names off the list. And I was really, really hoping that I could strike. In fact, it gets to a point when Bigwig gets stuck in the snare later, and I prematurely struck his name off because I was like, this is gonna be the Dead Rabbit movie, and then I had to put in brackets, not yet. So
exactly, but only after I cry about it in the book. I don't and then does he die? Does it? Well, he does. You think he does anyway. You think he dies, but then he's okay. But
and then
the emotional impact is still there and it's still real.
Returns in Watership Down 2, The Search for Bigwig.
The Search for Bigwig, yes.
Well, I read there are 2 books. Someone posted on a Facebook comment there are 2 books, and they said like no characters in the novels die apart from one in the second book. It was called something like the Chronicles of Watership Down or something like that.
The Silmarillion of Watership Down.
The Silmarillion of Watership Down.
Tales from Watership Down.
That's great.
Is what it's
called. That's cool. Okay,
and
like kind of the sequel.
25 years later, so that's quite a long time. And they're short stories.
What? I didn't know there was sequels. That's cool.
It was called Big Ups in Watership Down.
Okay, I'll have to check that out. I would love to read that, but I'll have to reread this first and then read those. Thank you for telling me about those, Dan.
Tiger Stripes. What is it called?
Tales from Watership Down.
Is it spelled
And they're short
T-A-I?
stories.
T-A-I-L?
No, a tale,
Okay.
like a fairy tale. Tales.
All right. So nothing about this series is fun. Okay.
It's fun for me. For you.
For you.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's fun. Well, because even though Violet isn't in the book, I like
Yes.
her inclusion in the movie because it does tell you the stakes of what it is to be a group of rabbits trying to find a home. If you step away from safety for just a minute, that could be the end. And so they find comfort in this abandoned shed, even though it's, of course, it's made by man. It's still seen as a safe place to be until the rats crash the party. And then
I was
the owl
curious.
and everything.
Yeah. Like I was curious about it just in terms of like, are rats antagonistic to rabbits?
They're antagonistic to anything they can gang up on and eat.
Yeah, so just in general.
Yeah,
I think it would depend on the number of rats.
Yeah, I don't know. Has anybody had an interaction with aggressive rats? I don't really meet them.
I don't live in New York, so.
Yeah, I don't either. So I don't really see rats.
I've seen them, but not aggressive ones.
Yeah, right. The only time I've seen rats is like whenever I drive by a dumpster and they're running around.
I was in Venice in some catacombs. I had to get this rubbing from a shield, and there were lots of them.
I've seen mice or rats in like the London Underground.
Oh, okay, yeah. I don't live in a big city, so that's probably like if I have seen rats, probably in like Toronto subway.
They find a new warren to stay with, which is very tempting. It reminds you of the Greek epics where an adventurer finds somewhere to be, and they share their story for a meal. And I was thinking this was going to be great, of course, when I first experienced this story. Except that Fiverr says, he warns, we ought to have nothing to do with that cowslip or his warren. But even his brother Hazel isn't listening. They're rushing into this. Fiverr has no choice but to go along with it. But he does mention it smells like a man. It smells like man. And they realize, and you can see now why Fiverr was leery by this alone. The warren is bigger than normal, and it just has carrots strewn about everywhere, which is just, yeah, you don't really see that many carrots in a regular burrow, do you? They're being fed to them by the humans. And when the rabbit asks about man, like, why does your place smell like man? Cowslip deflects, he does not say anything. In fact, he says, hey, we have empty rooms and you can hang out in all of our empty places. And we see very soon just why this warren is so empty. Because
sorry.
Yes. No, that's
I was
fine.
wondering if the film refers to them as carrots because they look a bit like parsnips to me.
Oh, are they parsnips? I just assumed they were carrots. But you know what? You're the expert here.
I'm really not.
No, you are. Well, you're more than
Well, it looks
I
like a
am.
variety of veggies to me. There's a radish. I think there's all kinds of things in there.
Oh yeah, yeah. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all bait. And I do appreciate the different communities that Hazel and Fiverr and et al. Sort of encounter along the way. Some of them are, again, we'll get to the despotic, tyrannical wound wart. But like
wound
this
wart.
is more of the and this is more of like the lackadaisical, they kill us, but they also feed us. So, but they don't say don't get killed. It's like we know.
But they're a death
You'll
cult.
learn.
They are
kind of a death
their
cult.
elder comes out and tells them a really horrible myth about how
Well-
happy they are to serve death and go when it's time.
Yes. And they're completely, they don't want to hear about Frith. They're like, tales of Frith are stupid, so these rabbits are atheists.
Am I right in
Or
thinking like,
nihilists.
No, I
Yes.
don't believe they're atheists. They
I
serve a
do.
different aspect of God. They serve death rather than life.
Yes.
So-
I agree with both of those.
is this like the legend of the Pantheist? Am I right in thinking like the legend of the Pantheist? Like the people are lured in and then given like this drug and then forget.
Oh, that's an interesting take on it.
Oh yeah, or like okay, that is a brilliant take on it because that reminds me of Brave New World where the people are pacified with the drug that's in that book. Loma?
Want to give
What is it called?
big shout out
Soma.
to Sporf. Hello, Sporf.
Hey, SP4H is here. Aggressive mice. There's one that keeps trying to steal my bird seed. And right, squirrels would do that too.
And Daniel's Hot
Well, I
Topics is
looked
here.
it up. It turns out rabbits attract rats, and rats. So if you're keeping
Really?
rabbits in a hutch, you have to be very careful because the rats will come in and eat your rabbits.
Huh.
So
So
I
I
who
did not
knew?
know that.
Me neither.
Nor did
news.
I.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, no, me neither. I'm so glad that has some basis in reality and that you questioned it earlier and that Tiger Stripes found the answer. This is a great discussion. Thank you guys so much for being here. And I also want to thank
the internet provides.
right. The
And
internet
the dude
provides
abides.
the great internet. Anyway.
Stark of Iron is here. Ahoy, sir. I hope that everything is going tickety-boo at the tower.
Oh no, poor Captain Notfinity. Earlier in the chat, he said, "This movie is why I do not trust adults. I was definitely too young to see this, and in fact, Jill's show is giving me flashbacks."
Oh no!
Well, that's why Franco's not here today.
You got the Watership PTSD. Not me.
And yeah,
I've seen Watership Down once, and I look forward to the next time because it keeps getting funnier every single time.
Captain Finity said, "Funny, I thought the author explicitly denied any allegory being present in the story." Yes, he does. No matter how much we read into this, according to him, we're doing it for nothing because there is no allegory, but there is allegory to us. So we're having fun. And just because the author didn't intend it doesn't mean we can't have fun with it.
Yeah, you can still make comparisons and stuff. But
yeah, I missed what you guys were saying because I was trying to read the chat and I drifted off.
Because we're engaging.
You are engaging because I wanted to say hello to Tony from Stark of Iron.
Yes.
And SP4H has a water gun for the squirrels to get them away from the seeds.
Better that than a BB gun.
And
yeah.
Daniel's Hot Topics has seen this a long time ago. We all need a good trauma, says James Caserta.
Do we?
I don't know. Well, it depends on how it's portrayed. As long as you know when you're getting into it that this is what's going to happen. Like as long as you tell the kid, who's going to watch this what they're getting into. And that it's a story based in that it has some certain realities in it, and that it's not all going to be happy-go-lucky. Then I don't think it's problematic to show this to your children as long as they're old enough to be able to separate reality from fantasy. And so that's around age 7 or up. James Caserta says Jill needs to find a water gun for Scotty. Well, he already has a Nerf gun, so now he just needs a water gun. Booger414 says
I think he means that you have to use it to spray me like a kitten that is getting into things.
Oh, what did you get into?
Just a list of rabbits that I wanted to die.
Oh, you know what? That's what I see when I see this movie. I don't compare it to Secret of Nim or other children's movies. I compare it to Animal Farm. And Burger Foreman Force says I had a terrible English teacher who tried telling us there was no allegory in Animal Farm, and I see the similarities in those two
That
rather
is a
than
terrible
the other.
English teacher.
Yeah. Well, what about like Charlotte's Web? See, Charlotte's Web probably is on par with this movie in terms of like when
Yeah.
you see it as a
Yes,
child.
Charlotte's Web. Oh, Charlotte's Web would be a great one to cover. I love that. Love that. Love it. Love
Or
it.
Babe.
That'll do.
Oh, yes. Man,
Thank
you
you
guys.
for cutting
I hope
yourself
that
short there. I appreciate it.
No, it's all over the place, but I love it.
that'll
It's
do.
great.
No, the end of that'll do is usually pig, comma, pig.
Yeah, but I didn't want to
Well, I
say that in
appreciate
case
you
you thought I
cutting
was
yourself
addressing
short.
you.
I don't know.
I would never. I am a jerk, but I'm a gentleman.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even get that. You're right. That would be rude, and I wouldn't have even known. But you're just quoting a movie also, so it's not that bad.
Yeah, well, all right.
And
Thank
it's
you.
a great. I love both of those. Man, I really do like fables. And
I
now,
like talking animals in general.
yeah, right.
That's why we get along.
True that.
And so,
That's a beautiful line.
oh, which one? And so
The
there's
one about
something.
it makes me feel sad like trees in November.
Oh, yes.
Of the way the atmosphere inside this death warren makes Fiverr
Right.
feel.
This
Yeah,
is a
that's a
death
beautiful
trap.
line. It's poetic.
It is good.
It
Yeah.
is. Well, there is a poem here. There is a poem where he says that there's something twisted about this place, unnatural, evil. And then there is poetry. Where is
Yeah,
it?
it seems
Take
like
me
the
with you, stream. Take me on your dark journey. Lord Frith, oh, take me far away to the hearts of light. The silence I give you, my breath, my life, the silence. And that is the who says that?
The head of the warren. They're a
Yeah,
death
the head
cult.
of the worm. Yeah, right. So they're saying, yeah, and Fiverr has enough of that. He leaves because he doesn't want to have anything to do with the death cult as you describe it. I agree completely. And
Yeah, it's
so,
as bold as Fiverr ever gets. It's
right, he
pretty
can't stand
impressive
it
for his
anymore.
character. Yeah.
He's willing to take the dangers of life away from this Warren, because even though he'll probably die, he says that death will happen more quickly if I stay here. And he's right, because the whole place is filled with snares all over the place. The humans allow them to live there and feed them so that they can trap them and do what they will with them. And the rabbits have come to accept this as reality. Oh, and Dandelion is the storyteller within the story. Yes.
I found this the most dramatic element of the film. Like all the depictions of Wardens, I personally found that the most dramatic. Especially there's one shot in particular where you see like a Warden from like outside it, and it's like completely filled with rabbits, and it's because I have claustrophobia, so to see like that sort of thing was really, I found really difficult to watch.
Oh, the overpopulation. I didn't know you
Yeah.
had claustrophobia. I'm so sorry you have to struggle with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the problem with that Warren too, is that the rabbits know that it's overpopulated and they want to leave at Rafa or whatever it is, but they're not allowed to because of the fascism that is keeping them there. And this is a part of the book that really gets to me. It's a big emotional scene in the book, and I did cry first reading it. because I really did think the Bigwig was dead, just as Scotty did when he's crossed him off his list, and then had to be like, oh wait, never mind. So, and this is where they find out that Cowslip was never going to help them. He won't even acknowledge it. They don't even acknowledge that it happened. And oh, I do kind of like what the rabbits say when one of theirs dies. My heart has joined the 1,000, for my friend stopped running today. And
I love that too. That's really beautiful.
yeah,
For a bunny.
right. Oh, there's one more quote I wanted, but I need to find it. And yeah, it is for a bunny. And it was about the cult that they're trying to escape from, and how they see their life there. And oh yeah, there it is. No, we need dignity and above all the will to accept our fate. And so they just accept that what's happening to them is the way things should be.
It's a trade-off.
Mm-hmm.
You get free food, but you will die prematurely in a wire snare.
Exactly. And some of these rabbits, in my notes, I kept describing them as droopy. And that's something I notice sometimes when I go to the zoo, is some of these animals kind of look like that, kind of a little droopier. And because they're being kept in unnatural conditions.
Yeah, no, when you see a zoo habitat change from something very artificial to something much more natural for the animal, it's like night and day, their behavior. It's really remarkable.
Yes, that's why I love bush gardens. They try to make their habitats more naturalistic to reality rather than just cages.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I mean, an animal is always going to sort of be aware that it's not wild and struggling to survive, but it's interesting. I worked at a zoo, and we made over several habitats. We had a big program, but like night and day, their behavior just remarkable.
Hmm. Yeah, and you can tell emotion. These animals do have emotions. They do get depressed, and just changing,
Yes.
you can change their life by making their environment better. James Caserta says, I hear Babe was a cute movie too, and delicious.
Well, that is part of Babe, a big important part, and as it is in Charlotte's Web, that there's a hierarchy in the animals and how they relate to people, and they are very aware that how their lives are going to go depends on how people look at them. So
Exactly.
in both Babe and Charlotte's Web, the pigs are very concerned about doing something to take them out of people's expectations.
Well,
It's a big
yes,
part of the
particularly
story.
my favorite character, well, one of my favorite characters is the duck who wants to be a rooster. And so he decides, I don't want to be Christmas dinner. I want to be a rooster. I want to be useful to the humans and wake them up in the morning. And that's why the alarm clock must die. And Tony Stark of Iron says, they often say, comedy is born from tragedy. Emphasis that idle glance overs lean to documentation and print. To those who won't know the in joke. Hindsight. Poor wabbits. Oh, Captain Affinity says, for anyone that gets as far as my forward. Well, if they buy your book, I imagine they're going to read past the forward. I wrote it right here just now because of Jill. Oh, I'm glad I could help. And here I thought I was just enjoying a rabbit movie. I mean, I'm inspiring something. And Fiverr finds exactly where they want to be, over the hill, that last scene we just saw. If you're watching this, but Hazel has an idea. He wants to, like Scotty said earlier, he wants to find some female rabbits because without the females, you can't make the baby bunnies. So they want to free the domesticated rabbits here.
Oh, there's a reference to the BBC. That's interesting.
Yeah, there is a reference to the BBC. I thought that was funny, so I definitely made sure to take a screen cap of that. I'm so glad you caught it. Yeah, so Lucy's awake. Lucy's the human, and so I guess she's watching TV. And so she stops the cat from chasing the rabbits. So they're able to get away this time. And Captain Holly somehow catches up to them. I don't know how. He shows up nearly dead, nearly bleeding all over the place, extremely injured. But he made it far enough to. I guess maybe it was just happenstance. Anyway, he tells them how the warren was destroyed by the men who filled up the burrows and started their construction job. But of course, according to the rabbits, they were smearing the place with blood. So the humans just think, oh, we're just starting our work. We got to clear out all these rabbit holes and everything. And what they're doing is burying these rabbits alive.
This must be the sequence I was talking about earlier.
Yes.
You see the warrens.
Run's blocked with dead bodies. And of course, the run is how the rabbits get in and out of their tunnels. James Caserta says, not sure if humans are at the top of the food chain. That is something that is said often, that humans are at the top of the food chain. That's only if we have our technology and our intelligence to protect us. And Dana Satopic says, I love rabbit. I used to own one back in the early 90s, in 92, when I was 5 at the time. Aww. And so we get the only name I can't really pronounce in this whole film. What name is this?
Heisenflay.
Heisenflay.
Heisenflay. Heisenflay. Heisenflay. Heisenflay. I'm gonna forget it. I've already.
I don't think any of us are going to be able to say it as well as Dan can for some reason.
Let's say it again, Dan.
He just
please.
knocked it out.
Heisenflay.
Heisenflay.
Boom.
I said it once, so I'm just going to call her Hizzy from the rest of now on. It's a good thing I'm bigger than my cat. Yeah, that's true. You're right. If you're locked in a room with a tiger or a lion, you are no longer, and you don't have any, guns or apparatus or technology.
Even if you do.
You are no longer at the top of the food chain.
Law of the jungle.
Yeah, or if you find yourself in the Star Trek episode Cat's Ball.
Oh, yes, you got to be careful of those giant cats. I like the giant cat in that other Star Trek episode, animated series, the sequel to Shore Leave.
Oh, yeah. Once Upon a Planet.
And so here's the claustrophobic scene that you were mentioning earlier with the Ephrafa Warren, where Heisenthal, I'm not going to ever pronounce her name correctly.
Heisenflay?
Yeah. She's like, hey, it's too overpopulated. We can't make babies because there's no room. And so she wants to break away from the warren and find a new place to live. And I didn't even see that as a horror scene until you mentioned it like that. Fiverr sees the hills they need to reach. And so we finally meet the goofy seagull who's injured by a farm cat. Come and look, you can see the whole world. Oh, that is the whole world to the rabbits.
I found a burrow, Hazel.
Yeah, so rabbits used to live there, and so now they can move in right there. They've already got a home ready to go. But I like the seagull.
Yeah, he's good.
See if you can, and so they
Yeah, I love Kehaar as well. I thought he's voiced brilliantly, but I was
That
surprised.
is,
There was a sentence that he says. I was surprised that it got snuck in because I thought like this is supposed to be a film suitable for.
piss off.
Yeah, he said piss off. Surprised.
Okay. Yeah, I was actually, if there was one clip, the first clip that I would have gotten was that. And yes, they help the bird, which was very intelligent of Hazel to lead everybody to helping the seagull, because he ends up helping them not only find female rabbits, but also, of course, in the ensuing battle and everything that takes place afterwards. So the seagull is very appreciative of the help he got from the rabbits. That he helps them against the other rabbits.
and we're
that
really
want them dead.
appreciative for the comic relief.
Yeah, definitely. And the story needed a character like that, and I think it was good.
Mhm.
Good
A
addition.
little breathing space from all of the anxiety.
Yeah,
Well,
right. With the
don't
farm
forget.
cats and the dogs trying to eat them. It's nice to
Don't,
have a friendly seagull.
don't forget,
It-
Art Garfunkel is going to show up and save us all.
Where
Sort
are
of,
the chicks?
Kehaar reminded me of Jar Jar Binks and the discussion that we had about that, Joe, where people were like, "But this is based on this particular culture," and I'm like, "Yeah, but Kehaar is also like voiced as seemingly is based on a particular culture. Like I haven't heard any like controversy over that particular aspect."
Hmm. I was like, that is a very stereotypical Italian accent, I thought.
Oh, I definitely got Mostel's sort of Russian Yiddish kind of thing. I didn't get
Okay.
Italian at all,
Okay.
but
I didn't get any culture. What culture is it?
you could make
I just
you
thought
could
he
make
was a goofy seagull.
Yeah.
well, he clearly speaks English poorly. Yeah, he's like
Yeah, it's a
he
bit
talks like
broken.
Yoda. Yeah.
To the point where Hazel is like, "Do you understand me?" kind of thing. It's funny.
Then
Yeah,
I soar.
I thought that Kehaar seemed Pakistani to me.
Huh. See, and this is exactly the same thing as what happened with Jar Jar Binks. It's like, you know
Yeah.
what? Maybe it's you.
Yeah.
Maybe we're wrong, and it's just a fun seagull.
Yeah.
For me, it is just a fun seagull. Well, I just figured seagulls themselves are this way. But, yeah, that's an interesting idea. I'm glad you brought it up. But I don't know what to say about it. Here's a cat.
Here's a cat.
The farm cat. Well, they're trying to find the female rabbits again. In this case, they get a little further in trying to free them, so they're able to open up their cage. But the humans wake up, and this time the men are there, so they stop this endeavor. And this is how Hazel gets shot. And once again, just like Bigwig, you think he's died.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks he's died, except for Fiverr.
In the comment section, Booger asks a question I was wondering as well.
Are
What do we got?
are baby rabbits called kittens?
Yeah.
I
That
thought
is
they were
nice.
called kits.
Kittens, short for kits, short for kittens. Yeah.
Oh,
There's
okay.
a couple
that's
other
good.
words for them too, but kittens, yes.
Mhm. Oh, okay. And they just call them kits to differentiate them from cats.
It's good to know that, and thanks for the question.
He's mean. Yeah, agreed. And here's a bit the trippy scene, another trippy scene
Yeah.
where we see the world through Fiverr's eyes, and he's basically following the black death rabbit in order to find his friend Hazel, who they do find. And the seagull knows that you have to get rid of the bullets from the wound. But he calls them black stones. And he's also very helpful. He knows where to find the Efrafa, the other Warren, which is the other Warren, which is the fascistic Warren led by General Woundwort.
And I thought the gull's removal of the bullets was extremely fitting for a bird, pecking them out.
Oh, the
Yeah,
incidental animations of the animals is great. Like
he's a
when
good surgeon.
Mm. But like they have the incidental sort of like as a rabbit will sort of scratch behind its own ear with its back leg, and the way that the animals, like the way that Kehaar, sorry, not Major Kira, Kehaar is like eating the fish, and it's like oh. It was. I think it's really well animated. Yeah.
So too, and we're to the part of the story where everything just gets mashed together. Everything from the book is just really shortened and squeezed into this final showdown, and between the Watership Down and the Efrafa, and trying to save the does who want to leave Efrafa because of the overpopulation. But yeah, there's a lot here, and I enjoy the animation too. And I love the language. I love the rabbit language created by Richard Adams. It was a very creative way to show us how they live.
But that's also like that sort of when Hazel gets shot, I thought it was going to be Fiverr's time to shine. I thought that his sort of precognition was going to make him the Ra.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be Fiver Ra, and it made sense.
That's an interesting
Everything,
idea.
but unfortunately, no, nothing much happens.
Well, yeah, no, that's not his character. He doesn't have a character arc towards leadership. He does have that ability to have accurate premonitions.
We're just past what I found the most disturbing sequence in the entire movie, where there's like an assault. It's like, like you'll bear the mark, or something like that said.
Oh yeah.
You'll be. Oh yeah, that's right.
What?
Okay, so what he's talking about is how Bigwig is being allowed to become an officer in Woundwort's army, and so he's given a mark, and here it is. Dan is talking about the mark that Hazel is given. I mean, not Hazel, Bigwig is given to identify him. And so obviously he's only infiltrating in order to rescue the does that want to leave. And Bigwig, he is definitely, and so all the other rabbits help with this. It's a great. I think it's really wonderful how it all works.
How many rabbits have died?
I don't know.
You're the only one counting, Scotty.
Not enough.
Hundreds.
So
Not enough.
Hundreds.
I say, Tiger
you
Stripes.
should know by now.
I
Yes,
don't know how many
thousands
rabbits.
of rabbits.
Hundreds. Yeah, because the
Minimally
original
hundreds,
Warren.
probably thousands. Yeah, the original Warren
Yeah,
was all chewed up.
Yeah.
And the fields ran red with their blood. Is that not enough for you?
No.
I get it.
Pfeffer.
You could just all right.
I know. I'm sorry, and I'm not. Ain't I a
Well-
stinker?
There's so many like near deaths and stuff like that. I felt like ultimately that sort of for me robbed like the end, the very
Yeah.
end of the film, like off its power because there's so many like near deaths and then people, you know, the rabbits survive. You think they're
What
going to
was
die.
there
There's
was a
one
message.
particularly where Hazel, I thought I thought Hazel was dying, and then it turns out that Hazel's just was seemingly dying. So it's one of those situations. I thought it really milked like sentimentality so much that it seemed cheesy to me and was difficult to watch for that reason. Just thought it was really not good.
Well, and
It
Jill
was
sent
not
me a
good
message
because
last.
you're saying it's not good because you think someone died but they didn't really die, and so that
Well, that
takes
happens
away
again
power
and again
from
and
it?
again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
That happens
does.
again and again. So I didn't think that was very good. And just the like the you're a lot of the film to me seems
Right.
like it's manipulating the viewer's emotions, which I don't particularly like either. Like that scene is one particular example of that. Like you think that the rabbits died, and it completely elaborates on the sequence of, you know, the imagine if this rabbit died and you think it is, and then it turns out that the rabbit's not even dead.
I thought I
Well,
was going to be
Fiverr tells
experiencing
you almost
loss.
immediately that Hazel's still alive. So
Yes, that's right. And so they're not trying to milk it too long or anything. They just it's a reality that some rabbits get shot and survive, and that's what happened with Hazel.
well, there is a certain amount of
I
traveling
don't
in this film. There's long sequences of rabbits traveling from one place to another.
I don't
And at this
I don't
point, it's Fiverr
yeah.
traveling to Hazel, but I don't feel like it's particularly, it
I
just
don't
seems to make
yeah.
sense that it would take him
I
some
don't
time to
think that
find.
I don't think any power is lost just because somebody doesn't die from a grievous injury.
No, but in a dramatic sense, I would like
Yeah.
to sort of experience the loss of someone that we've grown to know. Like I understand that a lot of the rabbits
Oh no,
perish.
that's a literary trope, killing the dog. It's easily done when you're writing, but it doesn't necessarily make something better.
Well, but it's also, and again, I'm not going to sort of speak to high art in any regard, but it's kind of like I was expecting Hazel to go
Well,
in
this was
almost
a
like an
book
Obi.
first. It was a
And
novel.
yeah, yes. And I was just sort of expecting Hazel to go in sort of an Obi-Wan Kenobi sort of way so that Fiverr would rise to be the Luke Skywalker and then take on, what's his name?
No, it
Darth
ain't that kind of movie,
Moondwort.
kid.
No, I know, but this is what I was expecting. This is what the hype I've
Yeah.
heard about it my entire life.
Yeah. So I guess like I've found in it might be the case for you, Scotty, perhaps that films that I've watched and have been different from the expectation. Maybe like a second watch might be more enjoyable, perhaps.
Perhaps, yes.
What I love the ideas here where Bigwig is trying to convince the hesitantly um, he's trying to convince her that he can help her and others escape, but she's a little hesitant because of the dictatorship that she's been under for so long. It's hard for her to trust anything. And I like the ideas in this movie.
Actually, this
Wow.
might be one of those situations where it would be more advantageous for me to actually read the book as opposed to rewatching the movie. Now, I end like it being such a big part of your guys' sort of introduction to this world. Maybe the book is worth it.
The book is worth it, and in fact, Richard Adams thinks that these are not his bunnies, that they don't capture the characters well enough.
Huh.
So several people have told me the book is better.
It is.
I've only
is
found
better.
one book. I've only found one book to be on par with its film. And that's Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I think that that is probably the closest to being a perfect adaptation. But again, this is also me not being a Lord of the Rings fan. So some people would say that's probably a close, but some people might find that closer to being like a really good adaptation, except for the omission of Tom Bombadil, who is my spirit animal. So
I do like Tom Bombadil. He's pretty great. And well, so there's a patrol of the SS rabbits on the march. So the rest of the movie is more action, trying to get through. General Woundworth doesn't want to, either you're a part of his warren or you're trouble. And so the rest of the rabbits are seen as trouble that he has to squash. Especially since they're trying to steal some of his bunnies.
Well, and it's like Woundwort is also, in terms of the design, it's a distinct design on Woundwort, and so I do enjoy that. Just being able to,
it's with that one blind eye.
Yeah, it looks
right. The F-Rafa are very rough-looking rabbits. They're not just because of the violence inflicted externally, but they inflict violence upon themselves. If you're not in the right place at the right time, if you're not where you're supposed to be, you get punished. Your ears get ripped. It is frightening. It's terrifying. It's a dictatorship of fascist control, and I like later on where Hazel or somebody is telling them we have enough enemies. We shouldn't fight amongst ourselves. What's your haying? What are you haying?
Oh, I was just admiring the 1.21 gigawatts.
Oh, right, the lightning. And that's great, because the F-Rafa later on, they're like, oh, that bird, it creates lightning. So they actually attribute the lightning to something the bird can manifest. And so he becomes a legend for them instantly. And something to be afraid of. Don't F with Bigwig. Yeah, right. Exactly. And his friends.
I thought it was interesting. Eugene Bird said she's a troublemaker. Sounds like an endorsement to me. It was like the opposite. It was like, stay away from her. She's a troublemaker.
Right, exactly. That means she's the one that you want to talk to. That is an endorsement in this case, for sure.
If you yourself are a troublemaker, yes.
Yeah.
I also have Dr. Pepper today. I don't drink soda often. Yes.
Wouldn't you like to be a pepper too?
Sure. I don't know what that means, though. Exactly.
It was a slogan from the 80s.
No, I know, and I still don't know what it means. Like, what does it mean to be a pepper? Like, I like chili peppers.
The red hot ones.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're one of those on the riverbank. Yeah, exactly. And so Hazel.
So how does Hazel get out of this mess?
He talks his way out.
Yeah, he talks his way out. He comes up with a plan, and he executes the plan with releasing the dog. And
what would Brian Boitano do, essentially? This is where I was expecting. I was expecting this is where he was going to finally, like, he's been shot. I was expecting this to be the final face down, and then everyone would have to rise and or not rise, but like,
he kept wanting Hazel to die, and he didn't die, so you don't like the movie.
No, I'm not saying I don't like it, because I do appreciate, like, as much as my. But
you do go on and on about it.
I do, but I'm trying.
Well,
as I said,
give it a rest for the love of God.
I don't think
you have. I don't think he has to give it a rest.
Frisk.
Exactly. I don't mind if he wants to go and
It's like 7 times now.
explore.
I haven't been counting like his list of undead rabbits.
Undead rabbits. Yeah. Okay, I'll cool it. I'll cool it.
But I think
Undead
Right.
rabbits.
now.
Wait a minute.
That would be a
I
cool
don't
movie.
I don't think there are any
It would.
zombies.
Watership 3. Dead like
Return of the
buddies.
Dead Rabbits.
And Fiverr has a seizure or something.
Boy, does he. That's really
Yeah.
terrifying.
And there I was on the edge of my seat, being like, finally.
Yeah, I really did think he was going to kick it. I thought, okay, this kid's not going to make it through. That's a bad one.
That's
I'm
it.
not
That's where
completely
the
upset.
F Raffins see the seagull as something mythological. They're like, they had a great bird that turned into a shaft of lightning.
By this time, I was just tuned out. I was like, "What the heck is happening here? I can't follow it whatsoever." So, just watch it, but just take in what you can.
I'm so glad you. Thank you for watching this. Even though if you weren't watching it for this podcast, you probably would have turned it off halfway through.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
It was
I
like
watched
the
it
last,
for your sake as well, Joe.
last half hour.
Daniel's Hot Topic says, why does that
Yes, thank
rabbit
you
have
too,
missing
Tiger
teeth?
Stripes.
For the same reason that he has one blind eye, because he's a fighter.
Yes.
Mhm.
He's been fighting his whole life. That's how he got to be general.
I was
Right.
going to say math, but I like your answer better.
Well,
I also
I
think
don't
the
know.
name- Oh, sorry. What?
No, go ahead.
I think the name Hazel could have been more distinctly, perhaps instead, a name that's more clearly a male's name. Because I assumed initially it was a female's, and then I saw a comment on a YouTube video talking about Hazel by someone else who had mistaken it as a female's name.
Oh, yeah, but also they're cute bunnies, so cute bunnies can sometimes have female names but be male. I don't know. And
Well, I
so
do think
they're-
hazel is a tree in England, right?
Well,
Like
I
a
thought it was a color as well.
yes.
Yeah, so it's sort of a masculine thing, a tree. Oh my God.
Yeah, there you are. There's
You go,
some of- there-
Scotty. Enjoy.
Exactly. That's General Woundwort. Just
Many
tearing
rabbits
things up.
died.
There are several rabbits did die. Brogu,
Bringing
hello,
us these
Brogu.
plans. Many boffins died.
Oh, hello also to Ben from Cinema Gulp. He's also here.
Cinema golf.
Yeah. Cinema Gulp. Good to see you, man. Says, between this movie and Animal Farm, I'm surprised I'm not more effed.
Yeah, if you had to see them before you were 10 because some idiot said, oh, kids loves cartoons. Yeah, it would really mess you up.
Yeah, definitely. And so they're carrying out Hazel's plan.
And regarding the teeth, there seems to be some debate going on. Booker says rabbits are not with dentistry, but then again, Gavin Blackburn says they are British rabbits, bad dentistry expected.
Taking a shot at the Brits. Poor Brits.
I'm sorry.
It never stops to be funny, but it is such a cheap shot.
It is. For sure.
The big book of British smiles. You know what, with the Woundwort, I thought that one of the best threats, and it would have traumatized me as a child if I had saw it. Oh, nice, there we go, some rabbit on rabbit action, and not going at it the way you'd think.
No, he kills
But,
two
right.
here. You should really
yeah.
love this, Scotty.
Well, and then when the dog comes in, I thought that was pretty rad too. But yeah, no, they're definitely, this is more.
Booker says, at Gavin Blackburn, I have been to the Dead Rabbit pub that is not too far from 5 Points in NYC. Really? It's incredible. The Dead Rabbit pub.
Yeah, and the Dead Rabbit pub. Oh, that's great. Also, this dog takes no prisoners.
Oh.
He's merciless with them.
Oh man. Unfortunately, I don't know any of these characters' names, and some of them are just dispatched, like the eels from The Little Mermaid or the hyenas from The Lion King. And so when I do see these rabbits die, I'm like, yeah,
I can
okay.
understand. I can understand the character development was not deep enough to, and the identification of the rabbits is not close enough to where you care as much about them because you don't know them, and so that's where reading the book would fix that part.
I thought at
When
least like the candle was going to follow on the rabbit or something.
Like when Lenny from Mice and Men says, "Tell me about the rabbits," I assume he wants to hear a rendition of Watership Down.
Well, and I also like that Woundwort. We don't know what happens to him. We don't know if the dog killed him
Yeah, I love
or
that
if he survived. And so he somehow becomes a legend, like, and he becomes the boogeyman that rabbits tell their babies, behave, or General Woundworth is going to come get you. Mhm.
I gotta say that, in the context of this being the end of the film, it was like, I think that's a wonderful story, but it's too bad that they didn't tell some sort of story about Hazel, about his bravery, about his leadership, and founding the
Yeah.
Born. There wasn't something else to sort of encompass his character so that we maybe felt a little more about for him when he just drops dead like this.
Yeah, right. He was called away by the black rabbit, and he just goes, and that's it. And you're right. There could have been more done with the character structure and deeper to give deeper meaning
You did
to the
need a
events.
lot more, but it's like they kind of ran out of get up and go. But you just need a little something at the end. You really
I
do.
think, yeah, I agree with you.
That's very beautiful right there with the milkweed.
Hmm. Oh yeah,
I,
I think every scene is gorgeous in this movie.
well, and that was the thing that I was sort of, after I realized that it wasn't going to be, a gladiatorial battle to the death of a bunch of rabbits, and sort of getting into the story. And I do appreciate it. It is a lovely story. And then when finally at the end, the black rabbit shows up and says, "Hazel, aren't you tired? You can come with me. Don't worry about them. They'll be fine. Let me show you. We have thousands more where I come from. And come on, it'll be fun." And there is a not reverence, but there is an acceptance of sort of death in terms of when the black rabbit calls, you have to go. And so I do like the themes of it, and the storytelling. It's a pleasant fable, and I wouldn't not recommend it. I wouldn't say it's boring, don't watch it. I would say, if you've heard about Watership Down and you've heard that it is just traumatic in terms of the death of rabbits, I would say you can put those fears in the back seat, and it's fine. It's lovely. It's more of a Peter Rabbit situation, but it's not the traumatic tale
What?
of,
What? Are you high? No,
well,
it
not
is. It's
today.
very traumatic. For anybody under 10, this movie's going to be traumatic, I think.
I have the psychological mindset of a 7-year-old, and I was
Franco ain't
not.
even here, and he was 11 at the time.
But I just can't. I think that I would be comfortable showing this to a 5-year-old.
No. Oh, God. Just because it's not Tarantino and rabbits aren't getting their heads blown off right and left, that does not make this appropriate for tiny children. Oh.
I think
So,
8.
in other
I think
words,
8 is the magic number.
I am not your ideal babysitter,
I
because
don't
it's
know.
Jägermeister and Watership Down over here.
What was the movie they showed you at the party? Oh, Old Yeller. So
Old Yeller, exactly.
perhaps
Take an Old Yeller.
that's your experience. And what was that like for you?
It was fine. I went
Hmm.
home and my parents told me that it was a fiction. And I was like, "So the dog's alive?" And they lied and said yes.
Well, no, the dog died 20 years ago, but probably
Yeah,
of
exactly.
natural death.
Animals don't live that long, darling.
I like that the film starts and ends with Frith.
That is
I
Together.
like that too. I like that too. And I like the quote, "All the world will be your enemy, prince with 1,000 enemies. And whenever they catch you,
Mhm.
they will kill you. But first, they must catch you. Digger, listener, runner, prince with the swift warning. Be cunning and full of tricks, and your people will never be destroyed." And yeah, Booger also likes Peter Rabbit. Peter Rabbit is great. Got to watch out for Mr. McGregor if you want his lettuce. James Caserta says, I'm more of a boogie woogie man.
Are you from Company B?
Did
'Cause I
somebody
need a
say
bugle
Beatrix
player.
Potter?
Someone
Yeah,
no.
you don't want to become a bunny pie. Yeah, but they didn't do much of that.
Beatrix Kiddo.
Infinity wants this movie redubbed with Tallahassee accents. Tallahassee accents?
Takahashi?
Hmm. Watership, mother effer.
No, can I? It is Filthy Friday, and we can swear. Can I do this one?
Oh, you can't. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I know it's Watership Down. It is a children's movie, but apparently you're not allowed to watch it if you're 5. So, Captain Infinity says, "Watership, motherfucker, do you speak it?" Anyway, there we go.
They say what in the one? Okay. Anyway.
Yeah. Do they say what in Watership? Do they speak what?
But I thought that the reputation doesn't just it's not just that the reputation mismatches the film. I thought that also the film seems to. I'm not sure how popular it was when it came out, but it seems to me like it's overhyped.
Well, it did, as mentioned by Tiger Stripes. It won many awards. And
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about the hype and all that because I got into it from
the book won awards.
The book won awards.
The book won the Carnegie, which is
Well,
the top children's book of the year. And again, is this a children's book? It's just sort of like people think, well, talking rabbits, children.
Was made for children.
Was it?
Yeah, well, yeah, because Richard Adams was telling. Huh?
I think children of a certain age.
Yeah, he was telling his children these stories in the car and then wrote them down. But it's something that I think all ages can learn from and enjoy.
Well, and don't forget, like the old sort of Aesop's fables and grim fairy tales.
Yes, exactly.
They were protectorates to tell you that if you go and if you're greedy, then you're going to get eaten by a witch, or if you're lazy, you're going to get killed by a bear, or if you lie, then wolves are going to kill you.
They were cautionary tales, but they were also something else, because the mommies always die, and that's kind of them saying, if you don't have your mother, you're really going to get rolled over in your life. Because it's your mother who takes care of you. Your dad doesn't care.
Makes sense. Oh my God.
Well, I'm just talking about back in the day.
Back in the day.
About in the dark ages.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Spare the spare the rod, spoil the child kind of
thing. Luckily, my children have a wonderful father who does care.
That's lovely. That's because that makes all the difference too.
Well, it's the thing is, it kind of gets on my nerves though, because I do everything for my kids and I do what I can. And but the thing is,
so often from people I know who are mothers, the child's first word is daddy, and then they never stop, no matter how much you do.
It's not just that. Because the dad in this case is the fun one. So I understand that. But what bothers me is that
you're fun here.
Is that I do everything and then he does it too. He does the same things that I do. So he's wonderful in that regard. But when other people see me do it, they ignore it. But when he does the same things that I do, like, oh, you're such a great dad and everything. And so they overpraise him. And I don't mind him getting praised, but
no, that would drive me berserk.
But I think that's just a testament to how lucky I am that is a thing that they don't see often enough, that they have to praise it when they see it. And I don't know, I'm happy.
Here's to your husband setting a trend.
He is. He's great. I would hope that more men were like him, but I just assume things. And well, I guess we don't really get to see how I guess in the book maybe there's more of how Watership Down gets established and that might have been cool to see more of that.
Yeah, I wondered if in the book, like, it answers a question Daniel's Hot Topics asked, which was, so what was the black rabbit? Was it a spirit, or was it all in the imagination of the rabbit?
That's a good question. Well, that's a question of faith, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And that's also like, that's, I think that's part of the appeal that sort of makes this story resonate, is that it does sort of introduce these headier concepts like death and faith to younger people. Part of the reason why the author started telling it to his kids.
Oh, there is a point in the movie where Hazel is almost praying, saying, "Let this be successful, and I will give my life." And here's Frith or the Black Rabbit. They're not the same thing, I think. Talking back, saying, "No, there is no bargain. What is what must be." So that was, and it was kind of interesting that we could hear that voice. Could Hazel hear that voice? It wasn't quite made clear. But that's pretty something. If when you pray to God, you hear God talk back, that's pretty nuts. That's from the Rabbit Bible, I think.
Yeah, it must be. It must be that's what he's thinking of, is the stories that he's heard, and they're just manifesting in his mind in response to his pleas to sacrifice himself for the rest of the others.
It seems like the end is, has at least a couple of like mysteries I really appreciate. It's like, are those sort of things, like how much of that is really happening, and how much is imagination, but also what happens to the sort of chief of the baddie rabbits. I can't remember his name.
Baddie rabbits,
Woundwort.
Yeah, Woundwort.
Yeah,
Woundwort. Yep.
And I can tell a story that somebody told me once, if you'd like to hear a story.
Certainly.
Sure.
I have a friend who claimed he was at the La Brea tar pits, and there are rabbits that live around the tar pits. And he said that he saw a rabbit standing up next to what was clearly a rabbit hole, and a big dog, I believe he said it was a German Shepherd, just saw this rabbit and immediately tore off after it, was off the lead, was off the chain, was off the leash, tore at this rabbit, and this rabbit just stood still. And the dog kept coming, and this rabbit just stood still. And the dog kept coming, and this rabbit just stood its ground. And when the dog came up on the rabbit grabbed it by the throat. And the dog ran around yelping. Arr, arr, just yelping the only way only a dog can cry. And eventually the rabbit let go, and the dog ran away. And he said he saw this with his own eyes. I would have to have seen it myself, but it's an amazing story. It's unforgettable once you've heard it, that could really happen.
Just before the dog attacked, the rabbit looked the dog square in the eye and said, "Of course, this."
Yeah. Nice. Well, that's exactly what happened there. The rabbit.
Yes, General Woundwort, he had a chance. He might have made it.
He might have made it.
He was a fighter.
He might have surprised the dog with his abilities, and the dog might have run away. We don't know. It did seem like a very merciless dog.
The importance of kids on like an animal's death sort of reminded me of the animated Star Trek episode Yesteryear.
Ichaya?
Oh, yeah. Ichaya. Oh, yeah, I love Ichaya. And, well, why does it remind you of that?
Well, like I said, like, the importance of death of an animal, or cute for the animal.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Because of the death. Yeah. And, well, I love Yesteryear because that is Spock deciding to take the Vulcan path and to let his animal go rather than watch him suffer just for his own emotional relief that his pet is still alive. He lets Ichaya go because it is best for him. And
Well, and
that's the toughest thing that a lot of people have to do with their pets.
Well, and that I think that is probably we sort of keep referencing other sort of childhood fictions and movies and stories that we've
before
heard.
you continue, I have to say, Tony from Stark of Iron says, I got to do my warm-ups for Rod Thunderheart's fundraiser. Hope to see a raid. And yes, of course, I will direct everybody to Tony's stream as we wind down when we start winding down. And of course, definitely check it out. Rod Thunderheart is in between work. I don't have the full details. I haven't been paying as much attention as I should, but I do think he is applying for unemployment, and he's trying to go check out Tony's stream for more information on this developing story of how we can support Rod Thunderheart and his awesomeness. And you know that he's a man who wants to work. He's a trucker, and he has the capacity. And so we'll just see what's going on over there. And I do appreciate Tony for helping out the community. That is an incredible good work that he's doing over there. Thank you, Tony. Do you remember what you were saying, Scotty?
I do. And I was just saying that it is comparable just in terms of, as a younger mind, something that introduces you to these sort of headier, real concepts. I think that everyone has their own. This one just wasn't mine, but I can admire it for its art and its artistry.
You did admire it. You admired the end scene for what I thought you would admire it for, which is the acceptance of death, and that's exactly what it is. And that's what the entire story leans on, is that death is a part of life, and it is not shied away from here. Even though some of the rabbits survive when you think they're dead, that doesn't mean that they couldn't have died.
Well, it was
the theme is still there.
Yes, but it was a glorious journey. I would give it, for artistry, I would give it an 8 out of 10. For my engagement with it, unfortunately, it's probably around a 5 or a 4. I would recommend it to younger people, maybe not 5 years old, on the advice of everyone here. But I do think that it is worth checking out at a younger age. And I'm sorry that I didn't get to engage with it at that younger age.
Well,
but that all being said, I do have to giddy up.
But before you do, I just want to say the ultimate message of Watership Down is that if you don't change and heed the warnings around you, your security can turn into tragedy. However, if you learn how to read what is going on and make the necessary changes to your environment and work hard to overcome them, you can not only survive but also thrive. And Hazel and Fiber and Bigwig and all of them that brought that to their newborn at Watership Down is one of my favorite stories, and I'm so glad that you came to talk to me about it. And I do understand that you have to go, so I will let you get out of here.
Thank you. And also, this is part of the reason why I have so much fun talking to you on this channel and talking to Tiger Stripes and Dan and everybody in the chat and everywhere I go. It's just like when I get to go and engage with a work of art that I haven't sort of seen yet or I haven't enjoyed, I love seeing things that are new. And even if I'm nonplussed by it, or even if it just sort of like, oh, okay, I get it, but it doesn't connect as well with me. Like, I really just enjoy connecting, or at least engaging with new art. And so thank you for that. Thank you for that opportunity, Jill. Thank you for having me. I am Scotty R37. I am wherever I am, whenever I want to be. I will see you all in the future. Also, I'm supposed to say, check out Steve Foley's book. He has an audio book called Droplets of the Soul. It is on.
Do you have a link for that?
Audible. Where we are, if you want to check out on the Phantasmagorium show, we are sharing the audio or Audible links. And so you should probably come and check us out for that.
That's okay.
And then also Ben at Cinema Gulp. He and I and Joanne, a bunch of people from Cinema Gulp. It's a collective. It's commune. It's almost like a Watership Down. And we talk on Wednesdays for Hump Day Happy Hour. And that's a fun time. We just finished talking about Mad Max. And next Wednesday, I think we're going to talk about Furiosa and whatever else pops to mind. But, and I, again, Scotty R37 on the X. If you
Oh
wish.
yes, if you wish for some irreverent humor. I really enjoy your Twitter feed also.
Really?
Yes. I don't
Okay.
always comment on it or retweet it or like it, but I do like it.
But you do see it.
I do see it and enjoy its presence.
I'm glad. I am very glad. So thank you again, and I'll see you guys all in the future.
I'm glad you exist. Thank you so much for existing here today.
I am also pleased that you exist. I'll see you guys later.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Scotty. Have a great Friday. And we're continuing to have a great Friday here, but if anybody has to go, this, let me know and I will let you go. But if you're okay with staying a little longer, I am not quite ready to be done unless you want to. And
well, you got some chats to read.
I could. Yeah, definitely. Well, there's a couple that are pretty good for sure. Eugene Bird says, "The black rabbit may be death, but also says that your lonely soul is part of a much bigger story, more majestic than saying we are just bit players that die and are forgotten, even if it is true." And that's a good point. Eugene also says, "Daniel, you aren't too old to get a college woman. There's still time." Wait a minute. What? Eugene Bird? You're telling? I didn't know Daniel was talking about being lonely. Oh, I guess so. All the girls I went to school or a mother now, they all shot me down. Oh, well, yeah, I guess if they're married, you're going to get shot down. That makes sense. It happens with people too. James Caserta says, "An old sci-fi trope is your mind makes it true." And James Caserta says, "Let me go. You can go if you like. I'm not telling anybody to leave." And I just, I'm just hanging out. But if anybody does have to go in the panel, just let me know. And I love this movie. And Hazel goes from being an ordinary rabbit and develops into his leadership. I do know that I love it because of the novel, and so there may be some of that missing from the film that helps explain why I like this so much. But I do like that. I do like the different natures of all the different kinds of warrens. The very first warren is more like a monarchy, and the second warren is like I don't know if it's like communism or you were saying is more like a cult. And
death cult.
And
actually,
a death cult. Yeah, a death cult. Yes, absolutely, is a death cult. And so they can get all the roots and all the things they want, but they're going to die
in exchange,
early.
Yes, for risking death. And then the final place they end up, the Watership Down,
is more like a diplomacy. So they're it's more diplomatic. It's a little more free.
It's a rabbit utopia.
Right. And then we don't see exactly all of that actually play out. I guess we'd have to read the book for that. Today I learned that you can project allegories and equally I can ignore them. Yeah.
I thought we took this book very much, this film very much as it was presented. I don't feel like we were searching for allegory.
Yeah, and it's there. It's there, even if the author didn't intend it. The way he creates this world that is based on somewhat of reality. So since he's so good at storytelling, it's there, whether he likes it or not, I guess. And I like Bigwig too, and he's of course the strongest of the rabbits, being the only one who was a former police officer, the Owsla. And so of course he's there. He helps defend the others.
I
And yeah,
I do feel like I did read the book because the things that I remember about it, which are sort of disturbing, I remember them all referring to some sort of disease, which I learned many years later was myxomatosis. And then I learned that there are certain areas, I think Australia, where it was introduced in order to kill rabbits, which is even more horrifying. That's people for you. As they say
that's
in this movie, they'll never rest until they've spoiled the earth.
That's true. I forgot about that line. And so there is a bit of environmentalism in this movie.
Oh, certainly.
And
Talk about rabbits in Australia. You mentioned like the tribbles during this live stream, and like part of the tribbles was based on took inspiration from rabbits and how they bred like mad basically across Australia.
absolutely, that's why I made the connection. Very, very good pointing that out. And I assume there's still a bit of a pest in Australia. And
Is that a non-native species, I assume? That's funny. You think of rabbits as being pretty much everywhere on every continent, but perhaps they never had them in Australia. I never really researched.
they were an invasive species. I think so. I think that's true.
Wow.
But I don't want to say that without being certain. So I'm going to check it out to see whether or not that's true. Were rabbits?
Well, I know that there's a lot of predators that do eat rabbits. And if there's no predators in Australia, that do consume, that are carnivorous, then yeah, you're going to be up to your armpits in rabbits in no time.
Yeah, that's why Frith gave those attributes to other animals so that they could eat the rabbits.
Yes.
And so, yes, it turns out, yes, there are an invasive species in Australia, and they're introduced in the 1700s for hunting. What? That's weird. Yes. And of course, lacking the natural predators, exactly what you said.
Yeah.
They cause ecological damage to vegetation, so they ate too many plants.
And I feel like I have a lingering image, just a mental image from this book again, which I think I'm pretty certain I read, but it's been a really long time. And yet I couldn't find any corroboration. I did a quick search that it was in the book. So I think maybe it wasn't, but I know that there's also a papilloma that affects rabbits where they get bony growths. It's sort of the origin of the jackalope. And I thought there was an image in this book of that. It really is kind of, I connect it to Watership Down, and yet I couldn't find a thing saying that there was. So that's a false memory, I think. I know, and that's hilarious. Yeah.
I don't know if that's in the book or not.
So I don't think it is.
I'd have to reread it.
Funny.
If tribbles are rabbits, who are the glommers? I would say a fox. Who do you think the glommers are? If tribbles are rabbits, who are the glommers, Dan? I think Dan's. Are you there? Okay.
Probably best not to ask me because I don't know about the ecology of rabbits.
Oh, okay.
Well, a lot of things will eat baby animals. I mean, a lot of things.
True.
There's probably nothing, if you are that kind of critter, there's probably nothing tastier than a baby rabbit. So.
There are lots of glommers for rabbits.
Yes, so many.
There were a few in this movie. The cats and the dogs and the owls, even the rats.
The humans.
The humans. Very good.
So I thought it was interesting that Scotty referred to it as basically as like a road movie. It crossed my mind for watching it. Similar sort of journeys where I was thinking about like the Lord of the Rings or like the Israelites in the Bible.
Yes, Moses. Hazel is Bunny Moses.
Moses. Oh, I didn't even think about that. Hey,
He's
are you saying Hazel
Peter
is
High Ground.
Moses? Are you saying Hazel is Moses?
Yes. Yes, I am. Bunny Moses.
Oh, okay. You know what? That now it kind of makes sense why Scott. If Scotty was thinking like that, then now it makes sense why he wanted Fiverr to become Moses, and that would make sense because he's the one with the magic powers.
No, I just thought Scotty wanted Rabbit Carnage.
Well, Scotty wants a lot of things.
Once you've taken up the mantle of Tarantino, you're not happy unless you see many people die. But this is also true of the John Wick movies, so who am I to talk?
Well, I love Tarantino. I'd like to see his Rabbit movie.
He should make one. He should make a kids movie before he's done.
Oh my god, no, he can't do that. That's not possible.
Why not?
I don't know. I guess maybe he could try.
The Black Bunny made me think of the Grim Reaper.
Yes, and that also makes me think of Terry Pratchett, where Terry Pratchett has the death of, he has a character who is death for people, but then he has every species has its own death. So there's the death of rabbits, the death of moles, the death of mice. There's all these little different death figures for each and every species. They all wear black hoods and carry tiny scythes.
Yeah, exactly. That is exactly what the death rabbit, the black death rabbit, is supposed to be. I think is very much like death itself. And that's the function that it takes at the end of the movie, is to take Hazel into the next life.
Yes, and that's a little, the graphic that you have in the upper right corner is of that scene, isn't it?
But James Caserta takes it in an interesting note. Killer rabbit assassins.
Look at the bones. That's from Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Oh, yeah. I didn't think about Monty Python, too. Yeah, Monty Python shows you how rabbits can be aggressive.
Oh.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. I saw a video of it online of a seagull eating a squirrel. Yikes.
Impressive.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's impressive if he eats it whole. Like, I'm gonna throw the seagull right down my throat. Fiverr is my favorite character in this entire tale. I do appreciate his intuition and the people who listen to him, because he can see when danger is coming, which is one of the most important traits in a rabbit. Survival.
Yeah, as the story was going on, I was like, is Fiverr actually the main character? But then, like, the final scene of the film doesn't feature him, so I was like, what exactly happened here?
I have that in my notes too. What happened to Fiverr? Did he die during that last fit? Yes. What happened to poor Fiverr?
Oh.
Oh my goodness.
Sorry, just for a second. My daughter tripped.
Did Dr. Pepper explode on you?
No, that was my daughter. She tripped. She's okay.
Oh.
She's okay. See, she said she's okay. Good. Yeah, she made me a bunny. She cut me out a bunny.
Oh.
I don't like to go on camera, but I guess I'll show you since this is a bunny stream. So she made this bunny.
Well, that's wonderful.
Look, she put "love you" on it. It's cute.
That's a really beautiful bunny too. I like the face.
Yeah, me too. That's my face now.
Yes, it's your bunny face.
Do you know who is established who El Herrera is?
El Herrera. Yeah, that is a good question too. That's also part of their mythology.
Yeah, because I realized like it starts with an L, which is
well, he's the first rabbit.
Oh,
oh, is that the first one? The
yes.
prince yes. Who let? Okay, there you go. There's the answer.
When the sun god creates all the animals, El Herrera is the first rabbit.
Well, I felt sure like El is a Hebrew word for God, and that's why, because I remember like that's why you get like Kal-El. That's like the real name for Superman. L again is used here.
Well, it's an honorific, isn't it? Or is it?
I'm not sure.
I'm not
But
either.
but
He's
you're right.
definitely the first rabbit.
Okay, that makes sense. He's a part of the mythology, and okay.
And a
And
lot
so
of creation that start that way, where all the little animals line up and they all look alike. And then God gives them each attributes.
yes, and that's what's done here, and he's the prince with 1,000 enemies, and these are the stories that the rabbits tell each other to explain why they are the way they are.
And the joke here is that he hides, so only his back half is blessed by God.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that part.
Yes.
Yeah, because he wants to hide, and he's like, if you're gonna bless me, you got to bless my butt.
Bless my bottom.
Oh, bottom. Sorry.
It doesn't look like Potter likened El Herrera to a rabbit Robin Hood.
Oh, Robin Hood. Well, I'm sure he encourages the rabbits in some way and inspires them to on how to avoid danger. But I don't know. I don't know how. Does he steal from the rich and give to the poor? I don't understand how he's Robin Hood.
I think there's definitely like Wikipedia also points out Adams draws on classical, heroic, and quest themes from Homer and Virgil, creating a story with epic motifs. I think there's a lot that draws from the Greek the plot structure sort of thing.
Oh yeah, I definitely do feel some Greek storytelling structure in it. I definitely agree with you there. And yeah, no, this is great. Great. Well, it's great for me. Not so great for it. Oh, wait a minute. We've got a guest. Nala Doc. Nala Doc is here. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. Welcome to the panel to Nala Doc. Hello.
What's up, Jill? I'm
Hey,
off work.
Hey, that's amazing.
I was totally shocked you were still streaming about Watership Down, and I was like, "Oh my god, I got to jump on!" And I'm sitting on my phone. I don't even have my avatar and crap.
Yeah. I could tell that you're on your phone based on your audio, but it's so great to hear from you. I'm so glad that you were able to say, "Hey."
So, what kind of exciting things have you talked about?
Well, okay. So Scotty R37 was disappointed there wasn't more carnage in this movie. Have you ever seen Watership Down?
I'm going to go jump up on my real computer.
Okay.
This is not working.
All right. Yeah. True enough. Well, it's not working for me either. So perfect. Hey, he fixes himself. I like this guy. No, I know who he is. He's great. I don't know if I could say his name, so I'll wait. But Naladak. That was fun. I like when people show up on my show and are excited to see me because I'm excited to see them. Love Trump's survival. DEA goddess. And Oh, Dan Licky's back. Welcome back.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. I'm starting to meander. Me too. But it's a meandering kind of Friday here. And I just want to make sure there was nothing more that I had here because there's so much that I enjoy and the adversity that the bunnies go through to get home.
Do you think Watership Down could make a good sort of live action, or like Babe sort of style? It's like live action, but maybe the animals talking would be in CGI.
I don't know. There have been remakes, haven't there? Like
a very recent one by Netflix.
Yeah.
And I think, Jill, you were reading something far earlier, and the stream where you said
Yeah.
where somebody you had a quote and somebody really smashed it hard.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's right. I think Franco Walker does not like, or was it Franco or was it
No,
Shooter?
it was
No, it was
actually some
Shooter.
sort of critic or something who was saying that it really missed the boat. I'm like, wow, that's saying something.
Yeah.
But I have not seen that. So there it is. Outcast Creative too is kind of well, there you go. Terrible twice.
Yeah, exactly. The Outcast Creative says, "Hey Jill, just finished my stream, saw this at the cinema. Loved it. As a kid, it made me laugh, cry, and invest in the characters. It was, in many ways, a groundbreaking movie." And that's how I feel about it too. And the movie and the novel go hand in hand. And it's really great if someone enjoys this movie and goes on to read the book, because the book will, of course, delve into the characters much deeper and provide a much richer world.
Oh,
Is mo-
after having shouted at poor Scotty for so long, I will have to ask you, as a mother, Jill,
Yes,
would you show this to your tiny children?
I would show this to I have a 10-year-old, so he's definitely old enough. My 5-year-old, I might wait a couple of years, 2 to
Mm-hmm.
3 years.
Mm-hmm.
the most recent adaptation was last year when it was adapted as an award-winning. No, actually, it was adapted by an award-winning author and adapted into a graphic novel. I'd be interested to read the graphic novel.
Oh yes, yes, that could marry some of what's wonderful about the novel, and but also give you more than what the film gives you in terms of characters. James.
Adapted into two. It's been adapted twice into television series.
Oh right, yeah, they had a cartoon early on. James Caserta says Jill is going to upload herself into the mainframe. I would if I could. I don't know. Wait a minute. No, maybe I wouldn't. Then I'd just have a copy of myself in the mainframe, and then I don't know what I would do if I were let loose.
A pretty wonderful, that most recent year of the X-Files, where there's a character who discusses that, what it feels like to be uploaded into the mainframe and how it's reality and it's great and everything's the best thing you ever think, but it's not real.
Right. Well, it's the
It's not real.
Matrix.
Yes.
Yeah, the X-Files also discussed that earlier in the show's run in an episode called Kill Switch.
I have returned.
Yeah.
I suppose we've all seen
Hello.
enough X-Files that it's not too much of a spoiler to tell you that it's one of the lone gunmen who's talking. And so because you're so invested in those characters, you feel it more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So welcome back, Naladak.
Thank you, Jill. I'm so happy to finally be at the right time for a topic that is dear to my heart.
Oh, really? Okay, so I am so glad also that you got off your phone. I think that was a little
I
scary.
was trying to deal with 3 dogs as I walked in the door and rushing and seeing you still on. So
Got excited.
yeah, I did. I'm never here.
It's
Never.
true.
I
That's
mean,
true.
when you guys
You know,
are always on, I work all day. So
you made it just in time because I was about to close this down. But I can go
Watership
on a little
Down is
longer because I want to hear
Watership
what you
Down
have to
is
say.
one of my all-time favorite novels. It's probably one of my top 2 novels, actually, next to God Emperor of Dune by Frank Herbert.
Gad, that's high praise.
And Leto Atreides II is is probably my all-time favorite character, and Hazel from Watership Down is my second fictional all-time favorite character.
Yes, I love Hazel too.
Hazel, Fiverr, the whole.
Because
I've been in love with this book for 30 plus years.
Yes, I love it too. And he doesn't start off as a leader; he grows into it.
No.
And
He is just an honorable Lapine brother, big brother. That's all he is,
right, Lapine. That's the rabbit language.
Yes.
I haven't reread it.
I was shocked to see you. You haven't read it, or?
No, I have. I read it when I was 20, but I need to reread it. It's been so long.
I gave my beloved Falling Apart paperback. I have never owned it in hard copy. It was falling apart, and I gave it to my niece as a, this is very important to me. Please read this and enjoy this. So hopefully she did. I don't know if she ever did.
Well, that's kind of how I got into Watership Down, is that I went to my friend's house, and my friend has this library. He was a teacher friend to my husband, and one of my favorite rooms in the world was his library before he got married and they changed it. But but when I first went into this man's library, books littered everywhere, and I could just spend all this time just looking at these books. And this one caught my eye, and he let me borrow it. And
Have you ever read any of the second book, The Further Tales of Watership Down?
I know, but during the course of this discussion, someone brought it up, and
Some of the
Dan
stories
brought
are
up
good.
the
Some of the
and then
stories are good. It's a little very different, I think, in tone because they're just tales and little bits and pieces and stories. But I enjoy it as a companion piece, so to speak.
I love
I've never
short
seen the
stories.
animated. There was an animated series that I have, and actually, I think Dan's. I'm pretty sure his avatar, Bigwig, there is from the animated series.
Oh yeah, that's what that looks like. His avatar does look different from the Bigwig that I know.
Yes,
So I knew
yes, it's very different
immediately it
than
was
the
from.
film.
Mhm.
My apologies for my non-rabbit like avatar. I've just come off of a World War II stream, so
Oh, welcome. But you know what? That's not irrelevant to this to this
well,
live stream.
I thought you guys would like to see this, which is why I popped on. This is the real location that inspired the author to write the book. And I don't know if you know the story, but he was on a really long journey,
Mhm.
car journey with his kids. And to keep his kids occupied is when he made up the story of Watership Down. And then his kids and his wife said, wow, that's so good. You've got to write all that down and turn it into a book. That's how this book came about.
Yes.
So if you have that music in your head, there it is.
The score of the animated film is quite memorable.
Yeah, it's an amazing piece of music, and that's the real hill. That's the hill that inspired him. That's the Watership Down Hill, as it's known locally. So
Mhm.
there you go,
And
Liz.
yeah, that's great. I did tell the story, but not as well as you did with the visual accompaniment of the actual road he was driving down and the
It's
hills.
amazing to think
That's
about
great.
how many amazing novels and stories have come about through parents making up stories for their young
Yeah.
children. It's just truly amazing.
I don't know if you know as well that, because I'm of the generation that saw it in the cinema when the film came out in the UK, and I think we got it before anybody else. It caused a huge controversy because it was one of the first animated children's films that actually had gore, that had blood, like when Bigwig's getting strangled by the snare, he's bleeding. And then also, when the dog comes
Battle,
with,
the dog.
yeah, rips the guts of the rat. And what happened was, in the first week of its release, everybody was going to watch it, and suddenly word got round to the parents who were dropping their kids off at the cinema to see this movie. It's actually really gory, and there was
it's the book.
Yeah, no, there was this huge uproar, I remember, and it was all discussed on TV and radio, and you had religious people saying you can't take your parents to see this, you can't take your kids to see this film. It caused this huge uproar in the UK, but most parents by then were of the kind of the cool 60s generation, so they were, this is our kids need to learn about these things. It's fine.
And that's true. They kind of do need to learn about these things, but I guess maybe it depends. If you're sending your 5-year-old, that's not good. But if your 8-year-old, they can probably.
I just think it's hilarious. It's a novel in which the opening mythology of rabbit lore basically Frith grants all of these animals the desire to hunt and kill the rabbits.
Yeah.
And so right at its core, it's about nature and fight or flee. And I don't remember. I mean, I'm 53. I remember when it was in the theaters in the US, but I didn't see it. My parents didn't take me to see it. But I wish I was too young to remember if there was any you know, criticism, like you were just saying, Lance, about how it was aimed at children, but clearly not a kiddie show. It's a mature subject matter show that I think is necessary for children. But
Yeah, it
I'm
was.
Gen X, so
I think it was the other thing that caused outrage was back then our certification system in the UK was U, which meant universal, A, which was suitable for children but had some adult themes, and then AA, which was 16 or over, and then X, which was 18 or over. So this was before PG 15 and all that kind of thing. And I might be wrong on this, but I have strong recollections that the film was a U because it was animated, so suitable for everybody. And because there was gore in it, there was a massive uproar about that. And you know, everybody wanted it reclassified to an A. And I can't remember whether that happened or not. It certainly wasn't taken out of the cinemas.
It would make sense. It would make sense to make this PG rather than G.
Yeah.
It,
oh, very much so.
Yeah, I'd agree with that even now. But I saw it twice. I went to see it twice in 1 week. The other thing that's funny is, of course, as everyone knows, the movie opens with this very crude animation style.
Oh, I love it though.
But I went with Simon Turk. I remember his father worked on all the Bond movies, did all the boats, and me and him always went to see films together as kids. And we were sitting there. I think it was the first time I got to see a film on my own. Like the parents dropped us off and left us and arranged to come and pick us back up when it ended. And the film started, and you had that crude animation, and we hadn't seen any trailers or clips from the movie at all. So we thought the whole film was going to be in that style, and we were like, "What's this?" And we just couldn't stop laughing. And then, of course, it changes, and you pan that wonderful shot of I think it's Hazel's eye, I think, and sort of pans out, and you've got this very kind of realistic looking rabbit. And of course, you know, from then on, it's that style of animation, that almost very realistic, slightly different from Disney. It was different, and we hadn't really seen it like that before, not in a feature-length movie. So that's why I say the film was groundbreaking in a lot of ways. You know,
yeah, it was really similar to Disney, except that it kept more true to the rabbits rather than trying to draw, you know, however the actor looks like onto the rabbits' features.
Could you imagine how awful that would be if it was Disney-fied?
No.
Have any of you, I know I came in late to this stream, but did you guys talk about the Netflix miniseries at all?
We didn't talk much about it, but I think Lance did.
I mentioned it in the chat. I thought it was diabolical. Okay. I thought it was terrible.
I wanted to love it because I wanted a photorealistic CG version, and yeah, they screwed up the story so bad. They made so many changes that were unnecessary.
It just didn't have any soul. It kind of just felt
exactly
for some reason. I don't know. But look, anyway, Jill, I just wanted to pop in quickly because I've just got off a 2-hour stream, so I'm going to dash.
Well, that's incredible. I treasure the time that you took out to join us to give us your insight into this film, and that we've already talked about for so long. But the thing is, you did bring a great personal experience from the theater that none of us had. And so I think that is really great. Thank you so much for being here.
Lance?
Oh, I was 100 years old. Yeah. I was really.
I would have been about 6 or 7 when it came out. I'm trying to remember how old.
Yeah, I was in that region because I do remember it was the first time I was dropped off by a parent and left at the cinema on my own, which, you know, now would be considered to be sacrilege kind of thing.
Yeah, right. 6-year-old left alone. Yeah, I couldn't do that.
There were 2 of us, and it was basically, you know, I think my mum dropped us off and his mum picked us up kind of thing. And
that was most of the 70s and 80s for me.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just the way it was, and there was nothing wrong with it back then. I don't know.
Yeah. Right. Well, yeah, so I just dropped yesterday I dropped my son off at his very first party where I was not there, and so some people at the school uh, hosted it. So I trusted the parents. I know them, and I know they're cool. But it's the first time that I did that kind of thing, and he's 10 years old, but
Oh, he's
6.
old
I
enough.
can't. He's old enough, but a 6-year-old, I don't think I could do the same thing.
Yeah, I definitely wasn't 10. I can tell you that now. All right. Well, look, I've got to run, and forgive me if it's rude to pop in
No,
and
it's
out for a
not. No, you
bit.
do this anytime you like.
Oh,
This
bless
is the kind of thing that I think I enjoy. So thank you.
No worries. All right, guys. Lovely to see you all again. I'll catch you again on a Star Trek one, probably.
Ooh, yeah. Well, redemption next Friday if you're not busy.
If I'm here, I'll be on. All right. Take
Yeah,
care.
right.
Bye.
Later. Bye.
Yeah, actually, I want to know what prompted you to do have a conversation about Watership Down.
Well, we didn't know what to do, so we came up with four different movies, and there was a poll, and Watership Down won the poll. So the people who engage on my channel on my community tab got to choose this movie.
That's my one fault is I never go onto people's tabs like that. I never go deep into their YouTube pages, so I need to start doing that more for you and for Cinema Gulp and all the other YouTubers that I'm associated with.
But sometimes the community tab will show up in your natural feed, and it'll show in there. And so I think a few people showed up that way also. Speaking of polls, we had a poll today, and I think so I'm going to share my screen for that poll.
Well, no, Dak is an American poll.
I am the internet's most beloved Polish American. Self-titled, of course, since 1988.
Well, if you're self-titled, then who can argue? Which character from Watership Down 1978 do you relate to the most? Is the question. And for me, that's Fiverr. And so that's true for most of the people who voted. We have 16 votes.
Interesting. I mean, because Fiverr he's got issues.
He does.
He is the runt. He is the, runt of that specific litter, basically. And hence, he's tiny. He is successful ultimately in the end, especially if you're familiar with, the next tales and all. But, yeah. Bigwig, Kehaar.
I put Kehaar there.
No general word, no.
Well, I didn't have any. I ran out of room.
Oh, is it? Okay.
I guess maybe I should have made it General Wound Wart instead of Kehaar, but I thought it would be fun to put him.
Oh, Kehaar in the animated film is great and very disappointing in the Netflix miniseries. Even though Peter Capaldi is doing him, he comes across as just a totally different tone and personality than the book and the original film, so it's kind of sad. They just made too many changes, but that's why nobody talks about it. It came and went. It was not memorable.
Well, yeah, that's disappointing that Netflix didn't quite, because I had heard about it and I was interested, but now I'm not. Now I'll just skip it.
Yeah, they changed just too much for me, and especially in Hazel's character, it's his book. He is the protagonist.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, so to alter some of those things was just too much.
Booker 414 says there used to be a guy who called himself a high priest of Trek at a convention I went to for a few years. He ran an event called the Temple of Trek. Oh my goodness. Oh, and he's saying that because James Caserta says I'm the high priestess.
Are we going to the hotel?
Hold on just a minute. Okay, so I told my daughter when summer happens, we're gonna go, we're gonna go on vacation and do stuff. But school just ended today.
It is that time of year. Yeah, they're all pretty much wrapping up.
Now we're going. It's time to go. Let's go.
You get a reminder that school can start any day now. It's going to go by really fast, and she'll be back at school.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, she's going into kindergarten and everything.
I feel like my granddaughter's
That's exciting.
It is.
I'm going to say goodbye, but thank you for inviting me. I had a really lovely time.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Okay,
talking about this
before
film.
you go, I want you to tell us if there's anything you want to share before you go.
Oh, no, nothing to share. Happy to be here. Happy to be able to talk about a good film.
Yes. And
Mm.
yeah, I'm ecstatic that you were here. You were incredible.
Oh,
Thank
well,
you.
thank you.
And I'm going to have
Thank
to
you
go
for the
back and watch it
discussion.
all.
See
Yeah,
y'all
you
again
should.
sometime soon.
It was great. It
All
was so
right.
great.
Bye.
All right, bye, Tiger
Bye,
Stripes.
Tiger
Thank you
Stripe.
for everything. See you next time.
I'm
And
always amazed at how long your live streams go.
well, usually they won't go for longer than 3 hours because I have to run. And the reason why this one is running so late is because I started an hour late
Ah.
because the early dismissal at school and everything. So I had to extend the start time.
So dare I ask, was Scotty on? And if he was,
Yes,
did he like it or not? Does he
he did
like the?
not like it. He thinks of it
I figured.
exactly. He thinks of it the exact same way Dan does. So he can, if Dan explains why he doesn't like the movie, that's basically also Scotty.
Well, seeing it late in life, like finding the reputation of the film, like very much like it seems to mismatch like what's in the film. But I was thinking about that, um, and Scotty suggested that he said maybe it's at the age that I am, but I was thinking maybe part of it was it's got this reputation for being extremely traumatic to watch and stuff like that, and I thought well maybe that's uh, a lot to do with the culture that it was released in and how they responded to it at the time, which seemed sort of confirmed by what was said um, once Scotty left, and I thought it was great that well everyone that's joined this stream has been great to speak with. Yourself and the other gentleman joined, and you spoke about like the times when it was released that was treated as graphic when it came out. So that sort of confirmed, I think, for me, like it was to do a lot to do with the culture at the time that it was released.
Yeah, that
Really,
makes sense. And I think the problem that Dan and Scotty had was that the reputation for this movie preceded it. And for me, I saw it
yeah.
outside of that. I didn't know about the reputation. I just
Mm.
found a book on my friend's bookshelf and took it home and fell in love with it and then also enjoyed the animated movie.
See that much? I found the book in the eight. Well, I knew about it, of course. I never got to see it, the film, but then in high school, I found the book and fell in love with it, and um, saw. I don't think I actually saw the animated film until I was in is at college and university. So, and it's my well-worn books and well-worn VHS tape. I think is probably fallen apart, and I've got the
Oh no.
DVD and the Blu-rays. They're all around here.
But in both my case and Scotty's case, well, I'm reluctant to speak for him since he's not here to speak for himself. But it at least seems like there are aspects, and certainly true in my case, there are aspects of the film that we both appreciate and enjoy. It's not a film that we hate.
Hmm. Yes, that's what I understand. That
Yeah.
that he does appreciate the animation, music, and all of the some of the themes, but not all of the themes. And do you think that some of them are a bit undermined in
Well,
to
as I said when we were discussing like the each of the events and when you were showing the screenshots, there are some elements of the film I find more dramatic than the deaths and stuff, like the
right?
claustrophobic aspect of the Warrens,
Oh
for
yes.
example.
That's a good point. But our overpopulation is a scary business, and
Mhm.
that's why. And being trapped there by a fascist dictator is even worse. Eugene Bird says Scotty wanted it to be Tank Rabbit or Escape from New Ephrata, but it's more like War and Peace.
Yeah, well, Scotty also liked Disney Disney Plus's Marvel's She-Hulk show, so we always got to take a little bit of grain of salt with Scotty's
Well, I do,
expectations.
but even when I disagree with him, he's a lot of fun to talk to, and I was glad that he and Dan could bond over their perceptions of this movie, while I had Tiger Stripes who saw it a little more like how I did.
I do need to find the animated series that. I mean, I know it kind of came and went. I don't even think it aired in the U.S. I'm pretty sure it was pretty much a show that only aired in either England or possibly, other affiliated, BBC channels maybe or something like that. But I've seen so many stills from it, and the style's not really to my liking. But I really would still like to see the stories because some of them, if I'm not mistaken, do adapt the Further Tales book in
Oh,
some.
that's
Some
interesting.
I think they do. I can't say that for certain, but
I read on Wikipedia. Wikipedia talks about all the different adaptations, and it mentions like that it's been adapted twice into TV series.
I believe so. Yeah. Well, I don't know
Yeah,
if you count the Netflix one a TV series. I guess I would, but
yeah, I
Yeah,
guess so. Why not?
that's the
It's
second one.
it's a modern TV,
God,
a
and it had
streaming.
one of my favorite actors of all time, John Hurt, as Hazel. I mean, it's just there's so much in the film that I love, and
Yeah,
Yeah,
from the Aliens and
I
Doctor Who.
love too.
then to think that I actually saw. I mean, like I said, we're talking about the I guess you call it the horror, the gruesomeness of the reality of it, and I actually was taken to the theater at 9 years old to see Alien when the chest burster jumping out of John Hurt, and also that was the first film I'd ever seen with him. And then years later, finally in the '80s, to see the animated film and realize he was Fiverr or not Fiverr, Hazel, and Hazel being one of my favorite fictional characters. It was just I can't speak more highly of the book. Though. I love the book, and the film for me is an extension of the book. So
It is. It is. It is. It is richer. The book is. You get deeper into the characters, and you know a lot more of what's going on.
it's got a
But
great
I think,
Art Garfunkel song too.
yeah, I think the film does capture the bravery and all the sacrifice that the rabbits go through in order to get to their new home.
If I ever get another vintage vehicle like a Jeep or something, there's a phrase that the rabbits use for cars. They call them rududus because the sound of the exhaust. And that's
Yeah,
what I was always going to call my Jeep. A rud. That was the name was going to be rududu.
yeah, that's a good idea.
Now you got me
And that
wanting to reread the book, and I don't have a copy anymore.
Well, that
Yep.
was my thing is that rabbit language. You got the frith, which we discussed during this. I thought it was just the sun, but then I learned that firth it has to do with the river openings or the part of a body of water that opens, and so it could be the god of water or the god of sun and all
Yeah,
of
it means
those
a
things.
narrow inlet of the sea. In other
And
words, an
then
estuary.
and the tiger stripe said it meant something different, and I forget what she said. I think peace or something like that.
Yeah,
That
from the
I'm not
Watership
aware of,
Down,
but
the Watership Down wiki.
The Watership Down, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that's what
that's
she wrote.
where
wow, I didn't realize there was one. Somebody's gone out there and well, geeks are gonna geek, aren't they? They're gonna create everything.
exactly. I like Haraka.
For
That's
crap. Shit.
that's yep.
Yeah, it is funny that yeah they go out for silflay to eat and then raka and then they use that term the same.
I also like that the moon is inlay, and that's part of it. That's part of it.
I always I'm not I have a problem with body tattoos, so I never
Mhm.
really I it's a stupid psychological issue with them. But if I ever got, I'd always said if I ever got any tattoos, one would be just the stylish outline of the Black Rabbit of Death. The and then there's a moment when El Rara after Frith transforms him where he becomes a very like sleek rabbit with like Celtic like lines and art in him. In that opening sequence, I would love to have a tattoo of that or my child's name on me. That was the only things I could ever do.
Yeah. Well, since we're still here, I could play the the slides again if you want to.
No.
No.
I'm just glad I
You
was
want to?
able to. I've always hate that I can never make your streams.
But
Sometimes
never stop them.
I try to pop in the chat when I can, but it's like peak work time for me, peak meeting time. So on the east here in
Yeah,
Ohio. So
I'm glad you made it too. I'm glad you made it.
yeah, I
And
love
it was a
the
good
opening.
it
I
was a good
think
time.
doing it in such a almost
What time is it? It's 4:20.
for you, it's 5:20 for me.
Oh, right. Well,
Oh
It's
yes,
10:20
not this.
in the UK.
When he transforms from this cute bunny into the realistic outline, I love that.
mhm. But I will be closing this pretty soon. And so when I do close this stream, make sure to check out Rod actually not Rod. Tony at Stark of Iron. He's having a fundraiser for Rod Thunderheart who needs some assistance. We want to find out more about that. Check out that stream.
The sort of loads of white idea in this art made me think of the Magic Roundabout. That also had a rabbit in it.
Where are these illustrations from? I don't remember the color being so in the dog and all. I don't remember the colors being like that. Did you cap these from the film itself, like or
yeah, it's from
okay.
the film. It's a ripped. I ripped my
Okay.
DVD copy.
Oh, I don't know why I'm looking at these and I'm like, and I'm seeing your what is his name? Eric Watermark?
That's right. I have Eric's watermarks all over everything to deal with the copyright issues.
Oh, great.
I just had a look on the Watership Down wiki, and it doesn't actually have an entry for Frith that I could find.
It doesn't. Well, see, that's why I didn't try to look it up because I figured I don't know how Tiger Stripes attained her information, so I didn't want to try to.
Yeah, she mentioned
replicate.
the Watership Down wiki.
This is an interesting sequence here because it goes from looking like a totally realistic rabbit to then the animation model character.
Yeah, exactly. Eggs Beatty says, "Hot damn, shame I missed this stream. I love that film. It's not often it comes into focus.
No,
these days."
it's almost forgotten. I would say the novel is kind of forgotten. I don't know anybody who gives it to their kids and I have tried to share it with many people over my lifetime.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's a good thing. Wait. What's the reading level of? What's the reading? I want to know what's the reading level for Watership Down because I would give that to my son.
I would say you could read it as a child. I was a voracious reader like from 6 on, so I was reading a lot of things.
I've heard it's only suitable for people who are age 35 and over.
Yeah, I think he could read this. I think this is his reading level. And
well,
I would like to give it to him.
I am gonna bug out of this stream, but I am so happy that I was able to catch you still streaming when I got home. And have a wonderful if you're in the US.
Oh, wait a minute. Before you go, when people join my stream, I like to allow them to plug anything they would like to share, what they're doing on the internet, anything they want people to know about.
My YouTube channel is
as far as what you're doing.
I spend too much of my life working to get any more work done on my YouTube channel, but I will get around of the rest of my all-time favorite movie shorts. I managed to crank out a ton of them, and I am Naladak on YouTube, so hopefully we'll get around to the 14 season Knots Landing review show. That's going to be a big thing. I keep trying to do that, but
Oh yeah, I need to add your YouTube channel to my list here. I
Yeah,
need to do
I'm
more.
just too busy, and I don't have the time to write essays and then do all the work. I've tried, and maybe when I get up some more free time, we'll focus on it. But like, I'm not much into the streaming and the that I like to work on the video essay type stuff, and there's just a lot of production time in
Well,
those.
my live streams are basically book reports. So, but they're not they're not contained or condensed or refined like a video would be.
Yeah,
What
that's
you
where
want to do.
I always wanted to do that, and that's why I'll get back to doing it with my other half, because we gotta I upped all my audio equipment and everything, and then had some problems the first couple episodes of the Knots Landing review, so we didn't get back to it. But I get
Well, let's
people
give it.
constantly
Yeah,
telling me, you gotta
more.
you haven't you why I'm waiting on this, and I'm like, yeah, but I work 10 hours a day.
Yeah, finding the time.
Yeah,
That's the problem.
yeah.
But if you want to see Nala Doc's YouTube channel, here it is. Check it out. Let's
There's
get you
not
a few
much
more
other than the
subscribers.
Barbie review we did. Everything else is shorts, and my other channels are all Volkswagen Beetle related, and they are also very idle at the moment. So,
Well, there you
but
go. But you got any
it
DJ
was
Play
great.
Nices? Check it out.
I'm going to sign off, and I'm gonna this evening listen to the rest of the hours I missed of the stream. So, I am looking forward to that, because, like I said, it's rare to see anything Watership Down related anymore.
You've also Nolodag's also got an excellent X page. Nolodag, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for joining the stream.
I'm glad to meet you, and I don't have enough to talk about Star Trek anymore to want to get into those Trek streams. So I was happy, Jill. I've finally given up on Star
Yeah,
Trek, and I'm very happy that I have.
that's healthy. That is a healthy mindset. I cannot let
It's
go.
so I've given up on Doctor Who. I've given up on so many of
Oh, I
the
know.
IP streams are series that I used to love.
Well,
I'm feeling better for it, actually. So.
well, I do. Yeah, there is that. There is the Star Trek problem, the Star Wars problem, the Doctor Who problem, and everything. And so that is why I like to explore
Did
good
you?
storytelling on my channel and remind people that it's still possible.
Oh, it is. I just got done watching the X-Men 97 series, and I was shocked that they did a great job on that. And I was a huge comic fan, but I was never a huge fan of that animated series in the 90s. And wow, I was like, Disney and Marvel produced this and it was great. So there are some things out there still. Well, everybody,
Yeah, exactly. Well, have a wonderful day.
you do
Eh,
have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend here since you're in the US. Dan, I don't think you're in the US, but have a happy Memorial Day weekend too as well. Take care.
Yeah, see you later.
See you later, Jill.
Well, I know the Canadians had their Victoria Day, but I don't know if this weekend is of any significance to our European friends. Might just be another day. But yes, he did touch on some things that I've been thinking about lately is that we're lucky to live in a world where good science fiction exists, and it's important these days to remember that, and that's why I like to look back on good Star Trek from 1966 to 2005, and also thank goodness for the Orville and for a great many other things that I've talked about. Everything I've talked about on my channel has been something I loved, except for Star Trek Nemesis. But I had fun talking about that too. Where we might have differences in taste for certain franchises, our goal here is to have conversations about what we like and what we don't like about the story that's written. And I enjoy messages about how we can improve humanity to tell you and stories that tell you how to think rather than what to think. And that's what I'm basically looking for here. So I want to thank everybody who was on this panel to help me explore ideas like that. Even though this was bunnies instead of Star Trek, my goal is very similar. And so so we had a couple of people who liked the movie, a couple of people who liked it a little less, but we had, even when we had their criticisms, the criticisms are about the story itself rather than, oh no, this is, trying to shove some kind of political agenda down our throats. So that didn't happen here. That's good. And so that's what I really enjoy, is looking at something based on the story and not having to worry.
Yeah, I agree with what Scotty said earlier. Like I find that I appreciate like watching like new stuff. So thank you so much for having the stream and and for suggesting this as an option in the poll and everything. I think it's been a great stream. So I very much like to thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you so much for sticking it out the entire way. I've gone on and on about this, and I was about to close it down about 40 minutes ago when I had an influx of people who wanted to talk about it. So I had to keep it open a little longer, and I think it was very grateful for that. I'm glad that Lance came in to share a bit of his theater experience, and also Todd Michael. Naladoc. Oops, sorry. I don't know if he wants his name shouted out. I can edit it out later if he wants me to. I'll ask. I was trying not to say his name. Oops. DJ Play Nice says Remembrance Sunday is the UK equivalent to our Memorial Day. Oh, okay, but it's in November. Okay, so of course I figured Europe would have a day like this, but it's not this weekend. It's in November. And someday I will convince you to watch New Voyages, Booger 414. You will. Maybe that would probably be a Friday thing because it'll be a while. I don't think it's going to come up on my Tuesdays. Keep your mind open, Jill, and read Zortex, but be careful. You don't catch a demon, and Zortex is, of course, James Caserta's original novel, so he's a novelist. He actually wrote his very own unique science fiction story, which you can find on Amazon. And so I definitely support any of my friends who are creative and want to share those kinds of things. Thank you, James. Good stories is good stories. Bunnies are mints. Yeah, exactly. Egg Speedy. And DJ Play Nice says, thanks for hosting. Yes, we're wrapping it up here. And I really enjoyed being here with you today. And I hope you enjoyed it too. And I think of course Dan told us already that he did. And also I'm happy that we had Scotty R37 earlier. Oh, is this it? Yeah. So we also had Tiger Stripes. Tiger Stripes was incredible. I had a feeling that she would be really great for this stream, and she was phenomenal today. And I enjoyed everything she had to say, as well as Scotty R37 he made his opinions well known, and it had Dan as a backup for that. That was fun. I enjoyed that. And let's see, was there anybody else who was here that I missed? I mentioned Lance, and of course Naladoc and Dan.
Yeah, I loved that there was like a mix of opinions and experiences on the panel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yes, Booger. The Zortex is James Caserta's book. It's true. So, Dan, tell us about what you're doing on the internet and how we can find you.
Sorry, I was finishing a mouthful of pizza.
Okay. Pizza. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to continuing the Star Trek Continues discussions with you on Tuesdays. And then also you'll be discussing the TNG two-parter Redemption of next Friday. So I'm looking forward
Yeah,
to
so
that.
far that's what I just you asked me what I'm doing Friday. Actually, I had no idea. I hadn't consulted yet. But I just decided, yeah, I've been waiting to do that and start I need more Star Trek in my life. And so that's it.
Cool. I
So,
felt it was probably all right to mention it since it's been mentioned already in this live stream.
yes. Yes. And that'll be fun. I love Worf and I love it. So this is going to be
Yeah.
going to be a good time.
Yeah.
And I'll put at least one of your link trees. I know you have like 72 of them, but
No, I have 3.
3.
72 is a bit much.
Okay. Oops. I was just kidding.
Yeah, I know. Cool. Thanks, Jill.
You're welcome. And
Oh, wow.
Friday.
That's really cool.
Oh my God. Booger says Friday I'm going to be on the road heading to my first Star Trek convention in years.
That's awesome.
That's wonderful. Take some pictures, enjoy, have a wonderful time. My favorite thing about a Star Trek convention are all the people. So you can, and that's what's special about YouTube is that you can kind of find your people on YouTube who you can talk to about this stuff. And I think that's really great. And that's the best thing about a convention. But, I guess the actors are okay now and then. James Caserta says, New Voyages is better than Continues, but worse than Starship Farragut and Potemkin. Interesting. James Caserta says, a Star Trek cruise sounds like hell. I've never been on a Star Trek cruise, but I hope that Booger enjoys his convention. He's refurbishing his old Klingon costume for it. Wow, that's awesome. That's really great. You're going to cosplay. Well, have fun.
I know Robert Picardo enjoys a Star Trek cruise because he recently tweeted about that.
Well, yes. Yeah, and I do appreciate the actors who enjoy their fans. And when that relationship is there, that's something special. Whoa, Potemkin is not better than anything. It's a weird community theater, says Booger. And so he's given his opinions about the different Star Trek fan films. But I think that is all I have for you today. We're definitely not talking about bunnies anymore. So let's go ahead and blow this popsicle stand and then go see what else is on the horizon for your Friday. I hope you have a wonderful Friday. Have fun, guys, and I will see you next time. I have to update my membership video, but it's mostly up to date. But there are a couple of new members that I need to put in there, but it's good enough.
I've got to,
including you.
I've got to bounce.
Yes, and yeah, that's right. You gotta leap. You gotta hop. Pop. I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Oh, why do I have this? Oh, right. Next time on Star Trek Continues, Anti-Derivative Jill is going to talk about the episodes Come Not Between the Dragons and also, what's the other episode? Well, let's find out. Here are the trailers for the next episodes that we'll talk about on Tuesday.
Signal all decks. We've been boarded.
Who dares to hide?
Whatever these pulses are, it's making it impossible to think clearly. It's getting harder to manage the anchor.
You don't belong in that uniform.
So, Commodore, to what do we owe this pleasure?
The crew of the Hood has been lost.
Enterprise, we've got a containment failure. Get us out of here.
Inaccurate. Data in error.
The computer would appear to disagree with you, Commander.
I'd prefer not to discuss the matter, sir.
Their deflector screens have activated. It's impossible to get a look. We can't bring them back.
interrupt this outro to remind you, if you're still here, please head over to Tony Stark of Iron's live stream, which is fundraiser for Rod Thunderheart. So I'll leave this up as the rest of my closing videos play, so you know where to go if you would like to help out one of our community members whom we care for deeply. I will talk to you later. Bye, guys. All right. Well, I interrupt this outro one more time because I got a surprise super chat right at the end, right as I'm doing my closing videos, ending this live stream. I got a super chat. How fun is that? That is amazing. Thank you so much, RRTNZ, for your New Zealand $2 super chat. That's incredible. I'll put a little heart on it. See, I also like this new feature where people in the audience can like his super chat. I don't know what the purpose for that is really, but it's kind of cute. So thank you. RRTNZ. This film is so traumatizing. You only see it once. And I just love this movie so much. And I'm so glad I got to talk about it for over 3 hours. That was a good time. and I'm so happy that you had a good time with me. And life's too short for wait. What did somebody say about life being too short in the chat? Oh, I missed it. It went by. But I'm so happy that we got to hang out to talk about this because it's a lot of fun. And yes, but I do realize there are traumatizing events within the movie because it is true to the book to some extent, even though the characters are not as deep as they are in the novel. There's plenty of bunny violence, but not as much as Scotty R37 expected. It was too played up for him in terms of how he perceived it was going to be, and his expectations didn't match the result. But for me, this was a wonderful book that I found on my friend's bookshelf, and I enjoyed the subsequent animated film and thought it would. I thought it paid a lot of respect to the book, even if it couldn't be as deep as it was. And so I do my favorite children's stories, I'll repeat, that are the ones that don't shy away from the realities of life and death, and this book does that, and all of the things that we said before. And so thank you, RRTNZ, for the extra, the super chat right there at the end. And so I will play this clip for you. I like to play clips when, well, let's play all of my Galaxy Quest clips. These are...
Is there air? You don't know!
Look, I have one job on this lousy ship. It's stupid, but I'm gonna do it, okay?
It's all real. Oh my god, I knew it. I knew it! I knew it!
I mean, surely you don't think that Gilligan's Island is a
real story. And they say, oh, those poor people. Also, I'll play this one too, because I've been meaning to put this on my closing videos. So now I'll play my closing videos, and I'll see you all later. Have a great Friday, everybody.
No matter where you go, there you are.
Learn all
that is learnable.
And the ways our differences combine to create meaning and beauty.
It has always been easier to destroy than to create.
May we together become greater than the sum of both of us.
Well, now you have something new to think about. Carry on.
All right, move along. Done. Stop it. Get off of the things. Go outside. Get some food. It's like, you know, it's a time of day where you live. Go do something. Shut up, Snoopy. I don't care. You smoke too much. Let's go. Let's go adventure. Let's go explore.
I'll get you next time, Gadget. Next time.
I thank you.
See you around the galaxy.